everyone, I'm Steph,
And I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
And this week we are diving into the magical world of romantasy, covering our favorite Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Love
Hey,
it so much.
we
We have
do.
to.
We have to. So why are we covering Onyx Storm? Well, I think the obvious is we can't watch a podcast covering romantasy books without talking about Onyx Storm. It's a must read for the genre, in our opinion. And Xaden, he's like our favorite book boyfriend. And he's
Oh
a
my God.
shadow daddy, which we know Megan loves.
I am so here for a good shadow daddy. And not gonna lie, every time I picture Xaden, besides picturing my husband, um, I honestly picture oh my God, why did I just blank on his name? The guy from Vampire Diaries.
Never saw it.
You never saw Vampire Diaries?
No.
Oh, E.M. Summerhalder, that's his name.
Okay. Oh, I
Oh
know
my
who that
God.
is, though.
Yes, yeah, he's from Vampire Diaries. He is just so sexy and has like that dark, just kind of like look that you picture Xaden with. So, like I said, besides picturing my husband, I love you, honey. Like I picture him in all of like the scenes, and I'm just like, I get melted. I melt. I'm dead.
Especially
Mm,
in this book, because it feels like a love letter to Violet, the entire book.
yes.
But mostly, we're also gluttons for punishment. We know Rebecca Yarros is going to destroy us with every single one of her books, wreck us emotionally, give us a book hangover, and honestly, we're here for it. It's implied
We are.
consent. We're thankful. Please destroy us. Can't wait for that to happen in book 4 and book 5.
And here's some other things that you should know about our lovely author, Rebecca Yarros. She's known for Empyrean, this whole entire fantasy series, and it is going to be adapted to television by Amazon. And, they better cast somebody just as hot as Ian Somerhalder for me. But other than that, interesting enough, she has EDS, which is a connective tissue disorder, very much like Violet does. So even though she doesn't like say Violet has this specific problem, she, does emphasize a lot of what Violet goes through. And it's kind of cool when like an author can like put that out there so other people who are disabled in a similar way can like feel seen. And then
And
they
I
can
know
also be
it's,
this, they
I
can
was
be
gonna
the
say, and I know
superhero.
it's also caused people to get diagnosed with EDS because they read about this, didn't realize that their symptoms were something that they could have, and now they've been able to find out and get treatment for it.
Yeah, so great. So I love that. She also has 6 kids, which I don't know how she does that because God bless her. I don't know how you do it sometimes, with so many. But, one of her kids is adopted, and she's a really huge advocate for the foster children and improving their lives in the foster system. That's a nonprofit her and her husband run called One October. So that's really important to her. And she has a strong military background, which we can see throughout Onyx Storm and obviously the whole Empyrean series and other books she's written. She's written about 20 plus other books, with the majority of them being a contemporary romance, which I'm sure we will definitely be doing other ones throughout our podcast. So stay tuned for more of those. We love you, Rebecca. We love you.
We do. But before we jump into discussing this book, a couple of key reminders. This episode will contain spoilers. We assume if you're listening, you've read the book, you have been warned. Also, this book does contain topics that may be sensitive for some readers, including blood, death, violence, and obviously war.
But now let's talk tropes. First of all, we have the forbidden love. Hello, Professor Ryerson. Oh, I was a little mad that they brought him back to be a professor, but when they did, I was like, wait, this is gonna be interesting because Article 8, Section 2, blah blah blah. Like basically they're gonna get into so much trouble if they so much as, look at each other. But it makes the whole tension in the book like really, really fun, especially later when he's like, so am I a professor right now or am I not? Mm, so good. And then, of course, we get to touch her and die. Like, he's super protective over her, especially when he starts to kind of develop more of his like venom isms that, it sets him off. And they are the chosen one. Like, Violet is Silver One, the chosen one. And that kind of plays throughout the entire book, obviously. And we also have soulmates, which we know, of course, scale Sigale and Taryn are, bonded, but that also means, of course, that Xaden and Violet are bonded, and of course they're soulmates because they just love each other and they're connected, intertwined. Love it.
We do. So, every magical twist, let's dive into what happened. So, Onyx Storm starts shortly after the end of Iron Flame, where we know Xaden turned venom to save Violet, which is a big game changer at the end of that book, and something that none of us wanted to see, let's be honest.
I cried when they were like, he
I
has
did
red
too.
eyes. I was like, no, please. Oh,
But I think it was nice to like have that prologue initially because we got this glimpse of what happened, like when he snuck out to go see Jack, which my hatred of Jack grows in this book. Even though he doesn't really do anything in this book, I still hate him. But it
yeah.
also allowed us to see more of Andarna and Violet's relationship without Taryn, which was interesting, right? Because that's going to become stronger throughout the book.
Yeah,
And
we
then
have
this
our
is like
little
the
Andarna right there. Hi.
we brought her
There
along
she
for the ride.
is. Everybody can see her on here. This is actually from my daughter's sixth birthday party. She's also obsessed with dragons, and we had a How to Train Your Dragon birthday. So I had these inside little like dragon shells. So I just
Oh,
had
how
this little
cute.
one, and I'm like, it's gold. I'm like, it's Andarna. So she's gonna be with us for this journey today.
Excellent. This is also the first time, at least that we know, where Violet asked Imogen to wipe Jack's memories or anyone's memories, which becomes really important later on.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool to see. Like Jack is like, oh, like what's gonna happen when I tell everybody that you just did this for me? Because like they feed him, they try and keep him going, and they're like, well, it's hard to tell somebody something that you don't remember. Bum bum bum.
Exactly. So then you get to kind of like the first chapter, which we know like Violet and Taryn, they're out on patrol. It's been 2 weeks. And then I think you get to see Riddick comes into form in this book, in my opinion. But Riddick's dragon and Riddick are fighting, and that causes his dragon to close himself off from the riot because he's arguing with Riddick, which is at the first time I read this, I was like, this is this like what's the point of this? But I think it's a breadcrumb because there's two things for it. One, we're going to see this relationship between Riddick and his dragon grow throughout this book, which is they are like paired perfectly for each other. I really need like a bonus chapter of Threshing and like how they found each other to come out because I feel
Yeah,
like that's a funny story. But
and I feel
also,
like they have so many crazy adventures. Like, let's just have like a side series of just Riddick, like
right?
of
Or at least a
everything that
couple
he
chapters
does.
of his perspective.
Yeah,
I really need that. But the other thing that comes out is that I think this is the first sign that's really obvious that while Terran is definitely, a large, well-known black dragon, he is definitely the general, even though he technically like he's not, right? We have Melgren and Kodak that are, but he definitely plays that role, and I think that becomes really important in this book and in future books. And then obviously, like even though Violet and crew helped save the college, there's all this
right. Yeah,
animosity that's building. So it's kind of like thanks for coming and saving our lives, yet we all hate you and we think you're traitors.
yeah. It's like you were the
So
ones who left, and you don't deserve to still be here. But thanks so much for saving us. It's like, bitch, be thankful.
right,
Come
be
on.
grateful.
Yeah,
And then I think
we're
the
not
big thing,
deserters.
right? They're not right. I mean, yes and no, a little bit both for the right reasons.
Well, for the right reasons. Yeah.
But I think the important piece is that Violet's planning to go find the seventh breed of dragons for two reasons. One, right, so Andara can know her own kind, which I think is just really meaningful, but also because she wants to try and save Xaden.
Yeah, and here we also learn that there are venin hiding inside of Basgiath. Basgiath? Basgiath. How does everybody else pronounce it? How do
The
you pronounce it?
college.
Yeah. You just say the college.
That's what I'm going to say right
Basgiath?
now because now I'm like in my head and I'm like, oh God, what if I say it wrong?
I think it's Basgiath. That's how they say it in the audiobook.
I think so
But
too,
whatever it
but
is. Basgiath. But in my head earlier, I was like, Basgiath. And I'm like, maybe I'm just not doing this right. So we'll just say they're in the school. That's right. That's a better idea. So the venin are here. They're hiding amongst everybody. And that really makes us question, how long have they been there? And we also see a silver-haired venin trying to free Jack with other Venons. And I feel like this is a really important scene because why would they risk trying to free him if he is just a lower level initiate? Like, why do they care so much that Jack needs to be free? And is this all just a trap, again, for Violet, which most likely, yeah. But there has to be more to his story that we just don't know yet. And then Xaden comes to help Violet and helps to deal with the Venom. But it's actually really interesting here that Violet's like, how did you know that we needed your help? Like, I didn't feel you through the bond, because he keeps like having her blocked off. And she said, and he tells her, like, I didn't really feel you, I felt them. Like, he could feel the other Venom and he knew they were there. And this whole time, you know, he's been going out and trying to like kill as many Venom as he can because he can seek them out. And it's just really interesting. But we get a cool line from the book here in regards to Xaden. He says, I could reach the rank of Maven, lead armies of dark wielders against everyone we care for, and watch every vein in my body turn red as I channeled all power on the continent, and I would still love you. What I did doesn't change that, and I'm not sure anything can. And you're just like, oh, Xaden.
Heart. Swoon.
Even though you're a bad boy, I love you.
Right?
And yeah, and she's like, well, telling me that you're capable of horrible things while still loving me is pretty much your idea of foreplay, which I don't disagree. And I am here for it. I'm like, yes, okay, let's go.
Still so, bad boy.
Still bad boy. At this point, I'm still just like heart eyes for Xaden all the time. But now it's time for Violet to meet with the Scenarium and ask about the task force to try to find the 7th breed of dragons. And she has a whole list of demands in her pocket, even though technically like Andarna is the one that made the demands, but she's the representative here. And the first demand is that Violet gets to take 6 riders of her choosing. But Melgren completely shoots that down and says this guy, Captain Grady, is going to lead the team. And he chooses these other riders, with Violet being one of them at least, and likely Xaden, since Sigale and Taryn can't be separated. But basically, Violet's really pissed off that she's not getting her way. And, you know, it's really kind of messed up that the Scenarium is trying to make a point that Violet isn't in charge of this mission and that she doesn't hold any power, even though she does. And they even say at one point, like, we're not going to let any people who abandoned go on this journey. And she's like, hello, you already are. Like, me, hi.
She's like, I'll let it.
I'm the problem. It was me. Hello. I'm the problem. It's me.
I will still be the problem. It'll still be me.
Yeah, so it's like, you can say you don't want deserters on this trip, but I'm the one leading it, so get over yourself.
Exactly. And then we get our first, like, I would say small spicy scene where, like, Xaden wakes up and it's like he forgets that he's Venom and is all over Violet, which ends up being really good for Violet, which we'll talk more about. But he becomes upset because the headboard then has these 2 marks of discoloration where his hands were, which give us the impression that he was tempted to channel when he felt her power rising until he stopped it. And this, I think, is like that point where like he is trying to control himself around Violet to protect her and himself, which becomes really hard throughout the book. But it also just like kind of starts to emotionally like destroy him throughout the book. I can't imagine being with someone that you love so much but not being able to, like, having to worry every single time you're around them.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, the headboard scene reminded me a lot of Akatar with Nesta.
Oh, yes, of course, Silver Flames. That is a good scene.
That is a great scene. So I was secretly hoping, like, yes, headboard action, let's go. And then, you know, kind of got a little teased, and I didn't love that part. But, you know, we still see some headboard action.
It's not what you and I were hoping for.
No.
But this is also where I think we start to see this. Violet shares the memory of breaking the armor with Xaden, even though she doesn't do it intentionally. So they think at this point, like, it's related to their bond. But I think this is where you start to see his power becoming stronger. And is that because his power is becoming stronger because his signet's growing, or is it because he's turned Venom? And I don't know the answer to that. But he definitely is no longer just reading intentions. He's able to read minds, which is...
Yeah. And we see here that that's the first time in the book that she's able to kind of cross over into someone else's mind. And this is like when they're awake, like they're not asleep. And again, like, yeah, is this the bond, or is this her second signet, like a little breadcrumb.
Yep. No, I agree. And then there's this backup plan that Violet's working on. So I think one of the things that's interesting is throughout this, she is like playing chess while it feels like other people are playing checkers, at least the scenario,
Yeah.
because she's working on this backup plan with Mira that involves ruins to help protect the flyers. I love that she has went from like hating Cat to wanting to protect Cat and all the other flyers. And the other thread that kind of starts here too is Mira is still pissed at Brennan, right? She was pissed at Brennan when she found out he was alive.
No, I was
That
pissed.
continued, right?
Yeah.
I was, but she is still pissed at him. And then she tells him he's like their mother, which is like daggers. But I feel like what's interesting about this, I think they're going to uncover, not in this, they do a little bit in this book, but definitely in future books, that their parents were way more into something than they knew and different
Mm-hmm.
personality wise than they knew. Because their mother comes across very cold, like she would put anyone else before their family, which is what Mira is alluding to with Brennan. But I think she's going to like regret those words at some point because I think her mom actually did a lot to protect them and to protect other people, even though they didn't realize it. I could be wrong, but
I think
that's
no,
my
I think
thought.
you're onto something there because it's the same thing with her dad, like leaving behind all of these like clues and stuff, and they're like, what in the world? Like he went to these islands, like he did all this stuff. We have no idea who our father actually was, which it's kind of funny. This is kind of like a tangent here, but now that we're adults and we see our parents as adults, we're like, wow, like my eyes are open to you. Like you had a whole world before I was born, and also like even like while like, I was growing up, like I didn't truly know you. Like, and I'm getting to know you now as an adult, like as like not as a peer, but like, as another human. Um, so it's kind of interesting to see this maturity for Violet and for Mira and for Brennan, even that, their parents weren't just mom and dad, you know, like they had lives, they had secrets, and we're gonna find out what they were, whether we like it or not. But the animosity that is brewing, that used to be more so between Kat and Violet, is now here with our lovely friend Aura Benhaven, the wing leader of the second wing, and her cadets. And they are just assholes, and they start trying to challenge the Flyers. So Dane, Violet, Riddick, and Eric, and other members of the fourth wing try to stop it. And that's when Violet realizes she needs to fix what she broke, because there's no professors around to help them with anything at this point. And she throws a dagger at Aura. And thankfully, a professor does come in right when like all hell's about to break loose. And things go down a little bit. And during this time, we hear Professor Emeterio state, I like our odds. The last time a shadow and lightning wielder fought side by side, they managed to drive the Venom back to the Barrens for a few hundred years. So we'll figure out how to do it again. So they're just kind of like, you know what, guys, like we need to work together, because we were all here against the Venom. We can't be fighting. Like, yes, they were, not part of the original plan, like the Flyers, but, like, let's all work together and just try to survive, perhaps.
Right? Let's not kill each other. Let's kill the actual enemy.
Right? Yeah. And they're like, all right, guys, speaking of, like, let's get back to school and back in session tomorrow for the writers and the Flyers. So, like, now they're like, you're going to work together, whether you like it or not.
Like tough shit.
Yeah, exactly. We're here for the greater good at this point. And then you see we have Xaden, Brennan, Mira, and Llewellyn show up to talk to Violet and Auric. And they seem to have seen Violet's little speech that she had in front of everybody. And we get a comment here by Auric that she would make a great politician or general, definitely nobility, which Xaden responds to, at least a great duchess. And you're like, yeah, come on, foreshadow. Like, what's going to happen in the book when Xaden and Violet get married? I almost called her Violence. But, it's like, it's a little breadcrumb for maybe book 4 or book 5, because let's see Violet potentially being a general, or, especially given one of these opening scenes in the book where Taryn is like really, he's dominant amongst the other dragons. So it's like they have to follow suit,
Yep.
I feel like.
The other thing that's interesting is I'm trying to figure out like when Art gets his precog. I think it's in this book. I don't think it happens before, but like this comment, like a great politician or a general, definitely nobility. I'm like, is that because he saw that coming? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, or did he just observe it? Because she does give a great speech. But
Oh, that's right, because we already know that like he has like foresight, but did he already have it at that point? That's like oh.
right? So that's like the thing. Like now, every time he says something, I question like in this book when I reread it, like, is that when it happened? Because we never see him like come to light with his powers, right? We don't know the moment it happens like we do with some of the other characters.
That's right. Yeah, we just were aware of it at the end. But yeah, it's like when you reread it, you're like, oh, that's right. He does
Right?
have this.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't already shown.
Has it? Has it? That could be the first point. It could be another point later. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know if Rebecca Yarros will ever tell us,
Come on, girl.
but
We need
right?
some side stories here.
We do.
Yeah.
So then all these negotiations are going on and they start to make some progress. Turns out our favorite Prince to hate,
Yeah.
Howden. Are we calling him Howden? Hayden?
Halden, right? I
Halden?
think it's
Okay, we'll call him
Halden.
Halden. Okay. I always, when I read it in my brain, thought Hayden, even though I know it's not spelled like that, but just to give everyone context if I say it later.
Yeah,
Halden.
we know what you meant.
He's shown up and he wants to be part of the team to go with Violet because why wouldn't he? At this point, we don't know he's her ex-boyfriend, but like she knows and why would she want that? We also
Right.
learn that everyone that left and flew with
Felicia.
Violet and Xaden Felicia will be welcomed back with a full pardon that will be signed in the morning. And the timing of that's very intentional. And this is why I think like Violet's really good about playing chess. Because they were very specific about when it would be signed. And then Andarna does not have to submit to any type of examination. I love that the scenario was like, just by the way, she won't have to. And I'm just like, okay, that's hilarious because no dragon would. But also, too, she is like a moody teenager. Do you really think she
Right.
would tolerate that?
Yeah,
Like,
no, the fact that like some of the other dragons like try to, or like on behalf of their riders, it's like they get in trouble, like
right.
she bites back. She's
She's
like, get away from me.
she's sassy.
I love
So
that about her.
I also love that like she can eat in the King's Forest, hunt in the King's Forest whenever she wants, because that girl does love her some sheep. She does love to eat everything. But there's no alliance to protect the Flyers at this point. It was voted down 6-1, which means it's time to put Plan B into action. Well,
Yes.
we also find out that Xaden was given back his title and his seat
He's a duke.
in the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
He's now the Duke, which another thing we love. So, because we got a little bit of like royalty play into that now that we could add. But what's interesting is he's clearly conflicted by this. You would think at first getting that title back that has been part of his family would mean a lot to him. And I think part of it does, but I think it's also hard given like everything he's going through right now. But one of the things that he says to Violet that is really important, especially when it comes to a theory we will discuss, is that he says to her, swear you'll keep it safe, even if it's from me. And that language he is referring to, right, is this entire place that he is overseeing as the Duke. And this is exactly similar to the message he uses at the end of the book to Violet in his note. And I know there's been like a lot of like back and forth on like, does he call it or she or whatever? He refers to it as it. And I think this is the point where like she promises to do that.
Mm-hmm. And
I
even
also
says like I will use you, or no, what does he say? I will use Terrandor to protect you, not you to protect them.
Correct. And I think this is the point where he decided to like started planning to marry her.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I think they would have gotten married at any point without any of this happening. I think when he got his duke title back, I think it sped up the timeline.
It did. It for sure did. But back to their plan B. Maybe we should call it plan V because it's Violet's plan.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. So we have Violet, Bodhi, Riddick, Imogen, Sawyer, and Marin, and they're up to something. And they're going along like, I call it Cat Squad, but that's from Bluey. But what do they call it again? Oh.
Eventually they become the Quest Squad, but We're
Quest Squad. That's it. Yeah.
we're pre-quest squad right now. I would say maybe
Pre.
like the treason squad right now because they're about to commit treason.
That's true. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're about in trouble. But they run into Mira, who cautions Violet against doing what she's about to go do, involving the wards at Basgiath. And Basgiath. Dang it. One day we'll get that right. And she says she won't stop them because she knows Violet will just keep trying and she's more likely to succeed if she's there. So she's like, all right, guys, like, let me just help you because you're going to do it anyway. And then, of course, Brennan is there too. And we see that using Sawyer's metallurgy signet, because they, bust out Sawyer as well. He's able to make it so that the flyers can then wield within the wards, because that's been a big issue that like the wards don't let the flyers do anything. They can't use their magic, but they're pretty sure the wards and protections from the Venom are still fine. But oopsies, maybe they committed treason.
I mean, it's fine, right?
Just a little treason, little light treason to start your day. It's fine.
No big deal.
Yeah, but then, they get found out by Colonel Ados, who is like, Violet Soaring Girl!
Well, that's how I imagine his voice sounding.
Right? Yeah, he's all pissed. He's using dad voice, but even though he's Dane's dad, he's just like, you guys committed treason. Like, I'm going to take you out. And, he tries to anyway. He takes Violet, takes her to the whole scenarium. And she's kept the secret from Xaden, so he has no idea what's going on until afterwards. Again, she's playing chess, you're right. And so he's really pissed that she kept it from him, but he's also like a little bit turned on by it because he's like, that's my girl. And she comes clean and says that she did it and says, I'm the reason that the flyers can wield and that you now have a clear path to negotiate an alliance. You're welcome. And so I'm like, good for you, Violet, standing up to, Colonel Ados because he's an asshole.
I'm also like, that's the moment where I assume like she'd be like, mic drop. Like, and like, you're welcome. I will take your applause now.
Yes. And it's a good thing that they didn't sign the accord granting everybody full pardon until that morning, because now everything they did last night is like free. Like they're free of any flashback against it. Backlash. That's the word I'm looking for. So basically, like, timed it all perfectly, and now they're not getting in trouble because woohoo, they're pardoned. And because she kind of did that, she really gains Queen Mariah's respect by risking the King of Navari's wrath to keep her flyers there. And she's really happy about this. She's like, you're looking out for my flyers, and I'm going to reward you for that by giving you access to the entire Viscount Takara's library and also the Queen's library, so her own. Because she has like all these books that have been completely forbidden or just like removed from Navari's library. And, the scribe in her is like, oh my God, books, I want to read. So she's super stoked about that. And I'm also like, good for you for, just plotting this whole thing and like also getting like a really cool reward in the end.
Right. Well, and I think what's interesting is, for her, why she gained so much respect from the queen too, is what she wanted was not something that really benefited Violet. I mean, we know it does because she's looking for a cure for Xaden, but it's, she wasn't asking for money or power, or any of these things that you would expect someone to try and negotiate to get. She just wanted books. Yeah. Every girl just wants
doing
books.
The right thing. We all just want books. Give us more books. Specifically smut books, please.
Yes.
Yes.
But while she's not going to be any repercussions from the scenarium, the king of the assholes, Dane's dad,
Colonel Ados,
like he needs like a good nickname besides like
Colonel A-hole.
Ooh, I like that.
Colonel A-hole.
Maybe we'll make that stick. But he's now been made commanding general by the king of the college, which is the role that Violet's mom played. So one, don't love that for literally anyone there, let alone Violet. And so Violet, because she's like really coming into her own now and standing up for herself, she's like, I'm out of reach. I'm bonded to Terran and Andarna. Like, you need me, and I'm tied to Xaden, and you need his powers. So I'm pretty much untouchable. And then he's like, but your friends aren't. And like, that's like, he knows where to get her, right? Because she is so loyal to her friends. So He's already thought about punishment. And he makes all of them on the second year of their squad fly to Samara for 2 days of outposts, which is an 18-hour flight, which is hard on dragons, really hard on flyers and griffins. So if we didn't already hate him for trying to kill her the first time, we hate him now even more.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just like on a power trip, Like he's like,
He
what?
is
You're just trying to like go around me in all these different ways, and I'm just going to like try and squash you.
like a bug.
Oh my gosh. Like
I hate him.
bug.
How did he raise Dane?
Right?
I just don't get it. But then we
Must
get
be all
another.
Dane's mom.
Where is Dane's mom? Where is
Right?
Dane's mom? There's something
Is
going
she
on
a
with that
Venom?
too. Is she a Venom? Well, I think he's a Venom.
Oh, but yeah, I do think he is too.
Maybe
Maybe
I
he
don't know.
killed
Maybe
her.
he murdered her. We don't know. But we get another dream walking episode, and Violet's in a dream that I think at first when it happens, she thinks it's between her and Kat. And there's like a comment about like there's a fire, you have to save yourself, you could be queen. In reality, right, we learn later that dream was actually Marin's dream or nightmare
Yeah. Yeah.
that
And she
Violet
was
was a
like
part of.
in the place, like she was Marin. Or
Yeah.
like she was like
I think she's like watching. Like I think that's what's happening is I think she's watching them, but she doesn't necessarily see who the other person is. Because Xaden mentions later that he could when she walks into his dreams, he can feel like someone's watching him. But later we find out that there's Venom in Newhall, which is where Marin's family is, and they all agree to go and protect the village, right? Because when they get to Samara, basically the person in charge is like, I don't know why I got second year sent to me. I have no need for you. Just like don't like stay here and don't get in my way and don't die. So
Yeah.
they hear that there's a town in trouble and they take a vote and they're like, let's all go. And so they go. But of course, this is the beginning of multiple traps that are going to be set for our lovely Violet. And it's a trap set by the silver-haired Venom that we saw in Jack's cell, and that's the beginning of that we saw at the beginning of the book. And she was clearly expecting them, which is she also plays chess.
Oh yeah. She's like a chess master that we just don't know at this point. Yeah. Like she is so Theophany or T, another silver-haired lady, which, first time we've seen another one that's like Violet's hair. And she can wield tornadoes, like fucking tornado. And honestly, this part like really hit me hard because this is where you think Taryn is gonna die. So we're gonna talk about this again like later. But it's just like so impactful, and like as you're reading it, you're like, no, 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 no. And like she says, like, I can't feel the bond, like I can't like feel him, like is he gone? And then she's thinking, like, am I gonna die? And she's like, and Darna, like you have to like choose to live, like in case I die. And then she's like, oh God, it's like Xaden and like Sigale and like everybody. And it's just like your heart is like beating out of your chest in this moment. But then out of nowhere, hello, Garrick, what are you doing here? He's apparently a distance walker. And you're like, excuse me? Like, what? Like, and then Xaden finds out, obviously, that, from Garrick, that like Violet's charging off into danger. And he just becomes like completely unreasonable. Thankfully, like, Garrick gets there and like helps Violet and basically make sure she's okay. But we learn a little bit more about Theophany and how she's just like a mega bitch because she killed Marin's parents on purpose and let her little brothers live just as like a sign of like goodwill to Violet, to be like, oh, just so you know, like I could have done this, but I chose not to because I want you to see that I'm here for you and I want you to be on my side. But then she gets really inquisitive about the dragons and she wants to know which dragon chose Violet first. And this is how we first find out that Andarna's kind is called an irid, or, iridescent. She's like, was it the storm, the lightning wielding one, or was it the irid? And you're like, oh, so she knows. She knows what Andarna's kind is. And finding out which one technically chose Violet first is going to be a really big deal in these future books. Because that's just like a breadcrumb that, Rebecca Yarros is leading us towards something big, and we have to figure it out. And then basically Violet gets back and Xaden is so pissed off with her and he's like, get down here now. And Brendan's there like, are you okay? Like, can I help? Blah blah blah. And everybody's like, good luck, Violet. Like, clearly you are going to be in trouble. Um but honestly, it's he's a little mad at her, but he's a little happy that she's alive, and he like kicks everybody out of the room and just like presses his lips on her like so hard, and you're just like, oh my god, yes, please, please let this be the first like big time that we get. And she's like, you can't seriously be angry with me. Like, I'm, an autonomous person. Like, I take care of myself. I'm not going to tolerate this. And he's just like shutting her up by kissing her. And you're like, okay,
Okay, thank
okay.
you.
I'll take my punishment. Thank you. That's fine.
Right, that's a
She's
good
like,
punishment.
oh, well then. Like, he's kissing her hard and deep. And, I'm going to get to that scene later, but I got it right here. Um, it's exciting. But again, he says, I'll use Tyrandor to protect you, not you to protect Tyrandor. Which, again, huge breadcrumb for at the end, and she doesn't even realize it.
I think that's what's interesting. I feel like he, from the moment he became a duke, started breadcrumbing to her what was going to happen with all of his comments. And she is so smart. It's crazy that at least, and we're in her mind for this book, that she's not picked up on it. Like what he's gonna do.
They're both playing chess, but on
They
like
are
different
boards.
boards.
Yeah,
But like they're trying to get like a same result.
correct. I
It's
agree.
interesting. Yeah. And then Theophany is just like messing around with everybody's board. Like, haha, you think you're doing here? I'm
She's
gonna
kind of
lose
like the toddler that comes in when you're playing a game. It's like, oh, what are you doing? And like picks up the pieces and moves it around. Did you need this
yeah.
one? Sorry.
Yeah. And then you got to figure out how to just like start over again, or just like pick up where you left off, and you're like, ah, okay, well that got messed up, but we'll just keep moving, I guess. We'll keep trying.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
It's gonna be
Um,
fine. Cue the
we
coffee
also
scene with everything burning around you. Like, this is
correct. It's
fine.
fine. We also learned that things with Xaden are not fine because while he was out fighting at the borders, he slipped and he channeled again to save lives. So this is, at this point, this is kind of what the second or third time he's channeled a little bit because we have the first scene at the end of Iron Flame, we have the headboard scene, which something happened there, and then we have this time where he definitely did. And he does it for the right reasons, right? He does it to save Violet initially, to save other people, but it weighs on him. So with this, Violet and Imogen go see Jack to try and get us some answers. And Jack tells us a ton, right? Because they
Mhm.
offer to give him something that will help him not die if he gives them information. So first, a new venom can be sensed, so a sage or potentially a maven can find them, and she uses the word raise them, which I think is very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's like, are you a
Um,
dragon being hatched and you need to get raised yourself?
right? And trained, and like, what exactly are you taught? But initiates and a sim can't like track a sage or a maiden. And one of the things comments that he makes is how many people have been channeling here at the college for years and trading information for power. And I think that's the first time where like we have a definite there are people like powerful people here that are not on the good side. And definitely like a breadcrumb for what that means.
Colonel
One
Asshole,
that
maybe?
right? Definitely I'm gonna be real disappointed if he's not. And he just is an asshole. Um, we also learned that you don't have to be taught how to channel if you're familiar with the flow of magic, which means writers or flyers could channel. And then Jack also says there isn't a cure because magic doesn't negotiate and venom don't wish to be cured, which I think is really interesting and is going to have some sort of meaning in book 4 and book 5. I don't know what that is yet. But then Imogen wipes his memories, which like how often is she doing that and to who? Because I like has it happened more often that we don't know about? I'm
Right?
very
Yeah, it's like,
curious about that.
how do you know if your memories have been wiped? Like, every interaction we have with Imogen, I'd be a little cautious. I'm like, are you gonna like do something or say something to me and then just like I'll have no idea? Like, I would avoid Imogen at that point.
Right? But I feel like her and Violet have become really close. Like I know Ria's like her kind of best friend. I feel like her relationship with Imogen is a lot stronger in this book and even in book 2. Um, But let's talk Riddick for a second because he comes to life in this book. If
Oh my God, I love Riddick so much. He is my favorite,
he's so
besides
great.
Xander.
And I also love like these comedic relief lines that he does. And so one of the first ones that we get from him that I think is hilarious, and I can just imagine him kind of like mimicking them and their like body language when he says it, right? Like they're talking about like everyone's relationships, right? Like Riddick's the bed hopper.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Violet and Xaden fight like an old married couple, and he's like, and it's always the same fight. I'll trust you if you stop keeping secrets. It's my secretive nature that attracted you. Why can't you just stay out of harm's way for 5 fucking minutes? And he's not wrong. He like that was the perfect like summary of what we've seen for the last like 2.5 books at this point, and even in this book, right? Um, they are attracted to each other. They both keep secrets from each other. They are getting better at it.
Yeah.
But she can't stay out of harm's way. She really can't.
No.
It's not in her
And
nature.
he's just like, I just put you back together again. Can you just stay in this room that I have warded to protect you? Can you just stay here, please? And then I'll come back and we'll have sex and then it'll be great. And you just stay here.
And she's like,
Which
no, you don't.
it's like, you don't own me. I'm gonna go do what I want. That's Riddick. That's him, pretending to be them. Which Riddick, I love you so much. Oh. And then we have our other, favorite little person, Jacinia, who comes in and, her and Sawyer definitely have a little thing going on. But Violet, Sawyer, Ree, and Riddick meet up with her and they learn that she's been kicked out of the Adept program. And the teachers there made up like a bullshit test that they knew she would fail. And this is all because that she went with them to Aricia. And so it's just like basically her fallout. And it's not fair, of course. They're trying to punish her. But it's funny because in this scene, this is where we also start to question, like, is he Venom? Is he behind this? Like, why is it that, she's being so brutally punished? And like, why are they trying to hide all of their histories? Like, honestly, if you're the bad guy, you don't want people to know how you came to exist or that you are existing. And so maybe Markham is a Venom.
I know. Well, and that's what I started thinking that. And then I started thinking about like, why do they wear robes? Right?
What are you hiding?
Is it so I can't see the red in your eyes?
Yes, because the Venom that we're hiding in earlier in the very beginning when they find out that like Venom had like invaded and they were trying to get Jack out, they were hiding as scribes. But Violet knew it wasn't a scribe because she's like, the scribes would have ran for the library. They wouldn't have been running towards us. That's how I knew it wasn't a one. Maybe that's a stretch.
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think it's a stretch. There's something going on there, right? Like he's definitely been the one hiding information. We know her dad was a scribe, and her dad didn't trust him because otherwise he would have kept his research at the library, right?
Yeah.
I just get the sense that her dad and her mom knew there were Venom there and maybe knew who.
Yeah, they knew a lot more than they were leading on. This is also when Violet realizes that she needs to get the access to her dad's research, but she can't because the place that her mom and dad lived was protected by blood for whoever was in the family could get in there. But now that Colonel Asshole is occupying her mom's old office, she can't get into it. So the only person that can is Dane. And Dane already has a complicated relationship with his dad, so he's going to have to betray his father, which honestly, he's kind of on board anyway, because he's like, my dad's an asshole and did all this stuff, and I had no idea. So he's trying to redeem himself with Violet to be like, you can trust me. I'm your friend. Like, you're just going to have to trust me. And so, I think that's where their old relationship comes into play, where like, he does love her and like he wants to protect her and he's trying to get that trust back because he knows he fucked up.
I agree.
So he didn't listen to her and didn't trust her in the first book, and now he's trying to gain that trust back. So he's gonna do the dirty deed and break into his dad's office and get all of her dad's research. But now wait, let's get back to really quick to like Xaden being the professor. Hey.
Hi.
Like, does he wear like sexy glasses and like a cute little like, leather elbow like patch? I
Well,
don't
I
know.
all I thought was when I was reading this was like if he couldn't be hotter or higher on the book boyfriend list, he's already in position number one. This like elevated it, right? Because like it's just I
It's
don't even know what
good.
to say. It's good.
It does something for me. I think for me it reminds me my husband before we were married and after I had already graduated college, he became a professor back at our university, like an associate professor for like a hot second. And so I had a little timeline where like I was dating a professor. I was like, oh my, this is kind of nice. It's like
Right?
scandalous. But it wasn't
Exactly.
because I had already graduated and there's no scandal going
But
on
you
there.
could pretend.
But I could pretend if, we role played it. So this is kind of a fun little role play for maybe for Xaden and Violet, but he like literally could not care less about the codex or anything because he's just like, when have I ever given you the opinion that I give a fuck about the codex or the code of conduct? He's like, I am yours, you are mine. There's no law or rule in this world ooh, or the next
Hmm.
ooh, that will change
Right?
that. Swoon. Um, but it's impossible for them to get any alone time together because like everybody who was like against them, like Aura and what's
Like her
the
entire
like
wing.
Catalina. Yeah. Yeah, it's like everybody who is like anti Xaden, anti Violet is like, I'm gonna catch you doing things you're not supposed to do and get you in trouble. They're gonna narc on them. So that kind of sucks. So that pushes the fantasy out of the way. Boo.
Well, it's time for Zayden to teach class, and he basically schools everyone on the mat. And Zayden on the mat's always hot to me.
Oh God, yes. I would go
And
to
then
that class just to watch and be like,
just a,
uh-huh. I would be like, I volunteer as tribute and just be
right.
like,
Hi.
oopsies, I fell.
Oh, you pinned me down again? Rats. I was
Oh,
trying really
darn.
hard.
Let's try again.
Right? But what's interesting for this and this scene is he tells Violet to use their bond to find the threads that are tied to him. And that's
Hmm.
important for both of their sakes that she can do this, which seems to be foreboding to like something that's going to happen in the future. I don't think we see it in the rest of this book, but we know she's going to need to find him at some point. But he also tells her that she's the only person capable of killing him, which like
Hmm.
does not bode well for our two lovers, that statement. And he's said this multiple times, like, you'll be the death of me, which is usually like made in kind of like a jest, I feel like.
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
oh, you're trouble. Like,
yes.
you're naughty. I'm gonna get in trouble with you. But it's like you're the death of me and you're gonna kill me. Ooh.
I know. When you start getting it multiple times, I feel like Rebecca Yarros is telling us, hi, Xaden might die. Um, which makes me
No.
wonder if part of curing him will require Violet to kill him. It, right? Especially since we know that Malik favors her. Because in the interrogation scene in Iron Flame, Liam appears, right? And we know Liam is dead because Rebecca Yarros has
Oh,
said he's dead, which we
yeah,
would
he's
all
dead
love for him
dead.
to come back, but he's dead.
We gave his soul to Malik. He's gone.
Yes.
Commend your soul to
Um,
Malik.
but he says then that he would Malik sent him to her. So there's part of me that wonders, we know gods are going to play a bigger role. We start to see that in this book, probably in book 4 and book 5. And so I feel like this is one of those moments. Is this a breadcrumb that she's going to need to find Xaden and kill him?
Yeah. Well, I hope
Okay.
not.
I hate that for us.
I
I'm
hate this
pretty
for
sure I
you.
will sob. So,
I will.
but
100%.
let's talk about another asshole, Haldon.
Yeah. Yeah. So while they're getting all hot and sexy on the mat, this guy walks in.
Cold water comes in,
Yeah.
pours
Ugh.
it. So I don't know what she saw in him besides she was young and dumb. We've all been there. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
We also find out he cheated on her, so we hate him for that as well. But he tries to like worm his way back into Violet's good graces. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me make it up to you. Once a cheater, always a cheater. But she shoots him down. And one of the things that she says to him is like, I haven't so much as thought about you in years. Don't chase just because you like a challenge. You'll lose. And when I read that, I was like, damn, girl, like, I I have some
Mic drop.
friends that need that, right? I need to hear that. I need to say that to people.
Yes,
And then
for sure.
Xaden doesn't know until this moment that they were together. He knows that Violet had two relationships before him. But I mean, did any of us think it was the prince really? Like if you
No.
like there were some inclinings in Iron Flame that like it could be, based on I think comments like Arik made and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Xaden was not pleased. So I can only imagine because we get jealous Xaden now because we've not really seen jealous Xaden a ton. Maybe a little bit when Dane kisses her in the like in Fourth Wing, but we
Yeah, we
didn't
get
like
little
she
little
didn't see
hints.
that. But he like uses his shadows to send the prince flying into the wall, which was super hot in my mind.
Yeah, he's
And
like,
was
oopsies,
deserved.
I didn't mean for that to happen. My
My
bad.
bad.
I threw your ass on the ground. Oops.
Hmm, back
Hmm.
off my woman. But then he says,
Exactly.
one of my favorite quotes from the book, which is, "Let's get three things straight, Your Highness. First, I have remarkable hearing thanks to the shadows at your very feet. Second, I don't control Violet. Never have, never will. But third, and most importantly, she really honestly hasn't thought about you, at least not since the second she set eyes on me." Oh,
Love a jealous Aiden.
I love a jealous Satan. This is also the point where I notice in the book, he starts calling her love
Yeah, he does. Instead of violence.
or Violet. Because, like, right, he'd call her violence, he'd call her Violet. And then, like, from here on, you start seeing him call her love, which is kind of an interesting change. So, but needless to say, he does not like that they were together. And he gets
Yeah.
a little bit jealous.
Yeah. You know what's funny here? I mean, later like Kat kind of makes a little like nudge at at Violet for this. She's like, "Oh, like first a prince, now a duke." It's like Violet could easily have like her pick of the litter when it comes to like titles if she cared about that. Which like she doesn't. So I'm like she could have been a queen. She could have been a princess. And like yeah, she can be a duchess and obviously she is. But it's like she doesn't care. And she's like, I just am here for the love, you know? And you're like, yeah, you are, girlfriend. But anyway, tangent aside. So we have Dane who is coming through and gets Violet's dad's research, and we're really proud of him for that. He did his duty. He proves himself to be a good friend again. And he hands her over this journal, which of course, nothing is going to be easy for Violet ever. It has a riddle on top. And it says there's 6 letters there, and she has to like figure out, you know, like what's the combination. And the only clue she has is first love is irreplaceable, which we later uncover through like, ironically, Halden, is that a writer's first love that's irreplaceable is their dragon. And so at first, like they're all trying to figure out, like, is this like your mom's name, like Lilith, like that fits that 6 letters. And that's actually
Violet
where we Violet, and that's where we find out that Halden was Violet's first love because Arik is like, well, 6 letters, it just fit, like Halden, and Violet's like, no, no, no. So it's kind of funny that that's also playing there. But of course, it's not it. It does end up being related to her mom, but not in her name. It is her mom's dragon, which, you know, we all know that like her mom's dead, sadly, but her mom's dragon was her first love, Aimsir, Aimsir. Which did we find out what happened to her mom's dragon after she died?
I think the dragon died too because, right, when her mom
I
channeled, she
forget.
pulled all the power from it at the end of Iron Flame.
Yeah, but we know that like it's not like that like when a griffin's flyer dies, like the griffin dies, but like when the dragon's
Dragons can
rider
live,
does, the dragons can live. So it's like
but hers didn't.
my
Yeah.
like my whole theory is like
Or
I'm not going to assume anybody's dead unless like I read about like the dead body there. Like I'm not going to assume anyone's dead. Like anything's up for grabs. Ever since Brennan, I'm like I don't believe you until I know.
I need to see a body.
I need to see where the body is buried and where, and, you know, like everything. But anyway, this whole thing is fitting because it's a sacrifice. Also a theory that like Xaden makes for Sigale at the end of the book. Because he's like, I love my dragon. Like you are my love. Like not even though like Xaden loves Violet for forever, his first love is Sigale, his dragon. But anyway, they are able to use Aimsir, the mom's dragon's name, to unlock the journal. and Violet finds a letter from her dad. Like at first, it looks like just like a history book, but the letter is very cryptic and it's addressed to Violet and it says, "Trust no one but Mira." And it mentions like she has to go to Corden and Deverelli to seek out a merchant, very specific, and that she needs to bring Dane with her, unless he unfortunately followed his dad and is now Colonel Asshole Jr., which tells us that like her dad also did not trust Dane's dad. That like maybe Colonel Asshole here is a Venom and Violet's mom and dad knew it. Or at least they knew enough that like don't trust him. Like you can trust Dane and you can trust Mira, but do not trust anyone else. And now we get Quest Squad.
Such a great name.
Quest Squad. Woo.
Right?
I love it. So Quest Squad goes on their first mission led by Grady, who Violet hated. And sadly, I guess, he ends up dying. Whoopsies. Because Aura accidentally wields and she sets him on fire because she's freaked out and like nobody trusts each other. And like, it's not that he didn't deserve it to die, but you know, you kind of feel a little bit bad. But then Aura, she also dies by a wyvern, which honestly doesn't make us sad either. Like she gets like skewered, just like picked up and goodbye. Like you were kind of an asshole. You got what's coming to you. But the big surprise here is that Mira is like, it's a good thing that I got there first, you know, to find the jewel that we were looking for to then take and use for, you know, compromise later in the book. But it's a good thing I got there first because right next to it was a note from Theophany to Violet, reminding her that she wants her to come out of her own free will. She's like, I can do this. I can take you anytime I want. Like, here's a little reminder. So this was a trap because, you know, later not later, but like we see that like the whole place gets set on fire. Everything goes to shit. Violet clearly was in harm's way and didn't even know it. But this also means that somebody who did know about the Quest Squad told Theophany, unless she can like see the future too. Who knows? But like somebody ratted them out. And the Venom knew she was coming. They knew this whole thing and planned this whole attack, and everything got fucked up.
Yep.
That's bad. It is bad. But then they go back to Basgayath, and the scenario meeting does not go well. And Violet tells everybody that she's done playing by their games, and she's only going to take the squad that she wants moving forward because, you know, everything that they're telling her to do is crap. Colonel Asshole can go suck it. And she's like, my squad is going to be who I want. It's going to be Xaden, Mira, Riddock, Kat, Drake, Cordella. Drake Cordella is Kat's cousin. I'm going to take Dane, Halden, and I guess Halden's guard. But she has to take Halden, unfortunately. Blech.
Right?
But she's like, suck it. I'm taking who I want. Your plan failed. It's my turn.
People died because we don't trust each other. And then it's Quest Squad time. So thank you, Riddick, for that name, because love it. I feel like he would have made shirts, right?
He would have absolutely made shirts, and they would have been like #Quest Squad.
Yes, very much so.
And hats. Everybody
and hats. Oh, yes. And he definitely wanted a patch for it, right?
Yeah. Xaden would have been like, I'm not wearing this fucking hat. Like, whatever.
Or this shirt. Like, why are you the way that you are, Riddick?
Riddick would have just showed up with his little suitcase and everything and been like, Quest Squad.
So excited. But then you have this image of Halden being carried in a basket, which, like, I just love. Like, the prince is, like, in a little baby basket. I mean, not in a baby basket, but that's what I imagined in my head.
Oh, my God.
And we get to go see our old friend Takaris. And do we like him? Do we hate him? A little bit of both. He clearly has ulterior motives in everything that he does. He's also kind of, he plays a little bit of chess, too, right?
Yeah.
But one of the best scenes that Megan and I love is between Xaden and Halden when they get there and he makes Halden clarify, am I here as a professor or not a professor? And he's kind of like egging on Halden, who is getting very like, he has a big ego, like frustrated, like I am the most important person here. But he's like, doing it. So
I don't care who you're here as. You're like, you have no authority.
Yeah. But not as a professor, right?
Xanden's like, so, just to be clear, not a professor. It reminds me of that scene in Legally Blonde where she's like, were you in the shower? You were in the shower. You got a perm and then you took a shower?
Shower.
Right?
Yeah, no,
Because of course, the
exactly.
legally bond. Yeah. So Xaden's like, so I'm a professor? No, I'm not a professor. Right?
Professor.
We're clear. I'm not a professor. Okay.
Cool. And he picks Violet up and carries her to his room, which I just love. And then we get this other instance of Violet saying something inside her head and Xaden being able to hear it. And it's kind of interesting because like it was that moment where she was like, oh, like she kind of thinks to herself, did I say that out loud? I didn't think I said that out loud. But then he thinks also she said it out loud, but he's clearly reading her mind.
Or is she projecting it into his mind?
Right? Is she mind walking? This is the thing we don't know. Like, because is her dream walking actually mind walking? Or are his powers growing and he can read people's thoughts without trying? Or is it some combination of both? And why is it?
Why?
Why? So many questions. So next day they cross over into No Magic Land, and then their communications cut off between the dragons and the bond between Violet and Xaden, which has to be like really hard. I know they mention how hard it is for the dragons without magic, but also I think it's hard for the writers to not be able to communicate with their dragons. That's been such a crucial part of who they are and almost has become like part of their personality. But Violet can still speak to Terran and Andarna. And is that because Andarna can channel from the sky and not the ground? But if that's the case, why can she speak to Terran?
Yeah. I've
Right?
also, this kind of, I honestly sometimes wonder now because of that, because of later we find out Andarna's magic comes from the sky. Is she actually the one that gave Violet the lightning? Comes from the sky.
That's true.
Right? So is she getting the mind walking and everything? Is she getting that from Terran? Because they can't control it all, like what signet you get or how you get it. Like they have no control over that. All they can control is like the power that is channeled necessarily. Like if they allow you to, like you're ready. But they keep talking about like how, Andarna, from the sky. Well, we find this out later in the book. We don't know it at this point necessarily.
But interesting. The other thing I like about this point is we see a relaxed Satan, which I, until I read this, did not think was possible. I thought he was like always tightly wound, like just like a brooding, possessive, like touch her and die fighter.
But then like you get this image of him like dressed in all black, standing on like a sandy white beach, just like looking out into the ocean, and he's just like,
right, like deep breaths.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, good for you. You're at peace for once. Like,
right?
You kind of want them to be able to stay there so that he can
You
have
do.
this.
Well, and it's weird because he's nice to Dane because they're on horses, right, to go and to go find the shop owner. And he has some question about like, did you ride a lot as children? And Dane's like,
right?
What? Why are you asking questions about our childhood? Like I thought you liked to pretend that we didn't grow up together and weren't best friends.
He's like, are you talking to me? Or you're talking to me? You're not trying to kill me? You're talking to me?
Like, is this a trap? Okay. But it's interesting because I think that's the version that oftentimes Violet gets to see of Xaden that other people are now getting to see. Which is really nice.
This guy? Yeah.
Which makes us love him more.
He's not all bad. He's got some good in him. But maybe that helps them like want to fight for him too later. Like they're like, okay, Xaden isn't really this asshole that we think he is. Like he's a dick to us, but not to everybody else, and but not to Violet. So maybe he's worth saving. And he is.
Yes.
But then let's talk about what happens when they're on their little horses and they get into Narelle, or they're looking for Narelle, this lady that was in the book that her dad leaves behind. So it's like, go to Deverelli, find this lady named Narelle. That's the only clue you get. So they go into the basically like the shop, and nobody is happy to see them. They keep yelling at them like fire breather, fire lover, whatever. They are not happy dragons are there. They are not happy to have strangers there. And there's some little issues. Fighting breaks out. And they're kind of like, we're here to see Narelle. And we find out that the people that they end up fighting inside of this little bookshop are actually her like grandchildren. But Narelle comes out and she's like, you must be Asher Soaringale's daughter, here to collect the books he wrote for you. But it's really funny because there's a scene also where she says, I heard you saying you'd kill my grandson if he took another step towards your beloved young man. It's like, how illogically, toxically romantic of you. And we're all like, well, yeah, duh, that's the whole honey, you're not even in the story. You don't even know how
Right?
toxically
We
romantic
love
everybody
this.
is here. We're here for it. But then it's funny because she's like, I have to admit, that kind of confident violence isn't what I pictured when Asher talked about you. But the brown hair and those, I guess, brown eyes. Ooh, can she tell they're not all the way brown? Like how utterly smitten he predicted you two would eventually be for each other. He described you almost perfectly, Dane Ados. And you're just like, oh shit. Dane is about to get
To
murdered
die.
by Xaden. Because Xaden's like, all right, I'm never going to be nice to you again. Like, bye bye, nice Xaden. Hello, jealous Xaden again. And
Well,
they're
and then
just
you have
like, this
Mira
is
that's in the
awkward.
room like laughing, like like I could just imagine her like trying to like cover her mouth and like not lose it
Yeah.
because
She's just like, oh shit. Dad thought that Dane and Violet were going to get together, had no idea this would happen. And Xaden's just like, fuck. He's like, just like it's gone for the last 18 months, everyone assumes she's going to wind up with you, but it's my last name she ends up wearing on her flight jacket. Boom. Which, again, another breadcrumb that he might be wanting to marry her. Take his last name. Mm-hmm. But then Violet passes the test given by Narelle, which is funny because one of the questions is like, why did you leave the prince? And Violet's like, what the hell? Like, why are you asking me this? Like, how did you know I was with the prince? And why do you care about my love life? Um, but yeah, she's just like, he was a bad person and I know I deserved better. And you're like, hell yeah, Violet. Hell yeah. Like, I wish some more people were like you and realized that you deserve better and you don't have to settle. Not naming names in
preach.
my personal life, but I'm like, there's some people I'm like, you don't have to settle for this bullshit.
You don't. There are
But
good guys and women out
yeah, it's
there.
like, yeah, exactly. Like there are good people out there who can give you the love that you deserve. You just gotta be willing to find them. But here we also get a sense that Mira is super pissed off that her dad didn't leave anything for her to find. And she's like, everybody is getting something. Like, I'm the middle child going on here. Like, Brennan's important in everything in the world. Violet gets to do stuff. Like, what the hell am I here for? So I feel bad because I have a middle child and I'm like, oh, I hope she doesn't feel that way. But, Mira's going to be on her own journey here. She's going to figure it out. Props to Mira for just, being a good sport.
Right? And dealing with all the bullshit that everyone puts her through.
Yeah. Seriously.
But then we get a good hot and steamy scene, which we're going to talk more about between Xaden and Violet because he feels comfortable having sex with her since there isn't magic in that area. But it doesn't last long because why?
I know that's a little teaser for you guys. We're like, sex
Yeah.
scene, but we'll talk about it more later. But it's
Yes.
good.
But it's good. But then, they're interrupted because the king has decided to keep Howden. Which, I mean, do we have to save him? Technically, I guess, yes. But like at one point, I'm just like, can't you just keep him?
Yeah, it's like
we don't really want him.
Yeah, but it's like, for the good of the realm, I guess we'll save him.
So they go to save him, but they're not really welcomed. But this is one of the first times we hear Xaden actually use his title as a duke and refer to Violet as his consort. And says one of my other favorite lines that because girlfriend is missing that permanent tone. And I'm like, girl, do you not pick up what he's putting down?
Like, honey, and he is commitment.
Right? Like so much so. So another breadcrumb that he's serious about marrying her. And then we also learn that Haldon tried to give the king the blade of Arietta. What? No, what is wrong with me today? Eratia. Like my brain is like,
which it's okay. We need like a phonetic like spelling of everybody's names in here sometimes where I'm like, wait, how do you say scale, Segale, like things like that. Yeah. You're like,
Well, and it's hard too because like you'll hear it or you'll read it and then you kind of create your own saying of it and then you'll hear like Rebecca Yarros pronounce it or something and I'm like, that's not what I've been thinking in my head for like 700 pages.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh. That's sometimes when you're like, maybe I shouldn't listen to other people talk about it because then it like messes with your brain.
It does. But he can't give the blade.
Say it how you want to say it.
So he can't give the blade because the blade actually doesn't belong to him. It belongs to Xaden. And so, and the king is very big on like ownership of things.
Yeah, like your word is your bond.
Yes. And he's very brutal because he has killed Haldon's guard.
Dude.
Feeds feeds her head to his panthers.
Yeah. He's like,
So
I caught them.
like stealing, right? Or trying to like take things back that from
Yeah,
him.
like Halden had this like list of things that he was trying to like steal back. He's like, these belong to me. They don't belong to you. And of course, like his guard gets caught, and that's when her head
And
ends up in a
dies.
platter. You're like, oh shit, this guy's nasty.
Nasty.
Oh,
So things are not great. So then Xaden tries to make a deal, right? And of course, Howden freaks out because, he is the most important person. No one else can make deals but him. And he
yeah,
yells at
he's got a
everyone
big
because he's
old
entitled.
ego. He's got a big old
Uh,
ego and a tiny prick.
yes, very much so. We could ask Violet and
Same.
find out.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe that's why she broke up with him. She was like, oh, you can have that,
I don't need
I
that.
guess.
And then he says everyone can die except for Dakaris, which leads to this epic fight. And the guards are trying to kill Violet, and they keep saying, if they kill the riders, then the dragons will die, which is not really how it works.
Yeah, it's like they got it backwards. You're like, no, that's not true. Our dragons are just gonna be pissed and gonna eat you.
Exactly. And then we have Violet, and she sees a swirling in those onyx eyes attempt us like I've never seen before. One step past fury, as if Dune herself has stepped into his eyes and peered back at me. He's Xaden, but he's not. So then Xaden channels again, even though there's no magic, which leads
Yeah, it's
to, I
like
think, like what, a dozen guards dying?
there's like 12. Yeah, it's like 12 of these guards start coming in, and like, yeah, he's just like, they're hurting you. They're trying to hurt you. Like, I'm going to protect you. Because again, he loves her and he wants to protect her forever, but does it the wrong way. But I think it's really interesting when she says, when Rebecca Yarros like drops those little bombs in there, like Onyx Eyes, a Tempest. And you're like, it's the name of the book, Onyx Storm. Here it is. I love that. I
Very
love it
much
when it
so.
happens. It's like they say the name of the title in the movie, and you're like, oh, there it is. There
It all
they go.
comes together.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, he
We
channeled.
learn from the alloy in Violet's now broken conduit, which is, didn't know they could do that. I don't think he did either, right? But he just felt this rage of him to protect her. But
Yeah.
then we have like Andarna, who, right? Just our wonderful little dragon friend.
Here she comes. She's like,
She
I'm going to
comes
come and save everyone.
with a panther in her mouth.
Yeah.
So, which I'm like, what's bigger? Obviously, she's bigger than the panther, but it kind of reminds me like I have a little Shih Tzu, and when he was a little puppy, like maybe 5 pounds, he would take like an empty, like distilled water jug, and that was the best toy ever. And it was
Yeah.
way bigger than him. And that's kind of like what I imagined this scene. Like she's like this dragon, but she's got this big thing in her mouth. And the king freaks out by everything that happens, right? Like, how did these people die so quickly? Because Xaden, the way I envisioned it, it's just these guards are just all of a sudden dead.
Yeah. There's like husks of people. There's like
Yes,
gone.
gone.
Yeah.
But then you have Violet, where now she is going to negotiate with him to get diplomatic access to the Isle as a launching ground for further searches, and ends up giving him Andarna's shell, which he
Yeah.
likes. I mean, he likes things. So this empty shell of the seventh dragon breed, which I'm also like, why did you take it with you? And also, why did we keep it? Like, why did
Yeah.
Andarna keep it, and why did it come on our journey?
Well, I think there was something in the dad's book where he said like, bring something that you value more than anything. And so it's
Yeah,
like
but
that's
like,
what she
why
brought as
is
like her
that?
trading gift. Yeah,
I
maybe
know, but
because
like
like
that's
she's not going to give
interesting.
Andarna, like she's not going to
Mm.
give away her dragon. So she's like, what's the next best thing?
I know, but there's something that tells me that there's something about that shell that's going to be important.
Yeah, for
It was
sure.
for no,
It
it was not for
definitely
no
is.
reason.
Yeah. Then we have Quest Squat. They go back to Basgiath for about a week or so. And they're about to embark on another journey, but this time they're like, you know what? Fuck these orders. We're not going to come back no matter how long it takes. Like, we are going to find what we need, and we're going to go as long as we have to. And we're just going to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, basically.
Yes.
So like, we're not going to do what Cenarium wants us to do. And by the way, we're not taking Halden because he's a piece of shit. We don't like him. He almost fucked everybody over when we were, on our previous mission. And so they're like, we're going to take Arik instead. So Arik has to kind of reveal himself to be like, yo, I'm actually the prince in disguise. Hey, what's up, y'all?
Been here the
I've been
whole
hiding
time.
here. Been here the whole time. Hey. So I can speak for, all of Navarre. Which honestly, it turns out to be better because they don't have to deal with the basket issue. They can just, he can ride a dragon. So Quest Squad is fulfilled. But it does make us kind of wonder at this point also, again, does Arik, has he seen into the future and he knows what's going to happen? And like, this is why he needs to come along and join? Maybe. But then we also have Garrett coming as well because basically if Xaden wasn't able to control himself, like in that moment when he channeled, like Garrett is somebody who can like help. So like, okay, we need some backup, changing people, and we're going to do what we want. So then they get to Umbriel, which they are not welcomed with open arms. They're basically welcomed by soldiers. So they are woken up by these soldiers all around them saying like, you're going to come with us. And they can bring half of them into the city. But Violet, when she gets there, sees all of these blue-robed attendants, and they all have silver hair. And again, up to this point, everyone that we've seen with silver hair has been Violet and Theophany. But so she's like, oh my God, they look like me. This is crazy. But it ends up that when they get there, they are going to have to fight somebody. And again, it's only Xaden, Dane, and Violet that get invited to go into the town. But they're being told that they have to fight to prove their worth and to prove that, like, they can, get by. So, like, the first island was like, your word is your power. And now it's like, your strength is your power. Like, let's see if you are willing to fight to the death. Fighting gets really intense. And Violet is able to basically wield her conjuring lightning, and she's able to then get her opponent to yield, and it just so happens to be the Queen of Umbriel. What? But I think this is like badass because it's like the Queen is putting herself in there, and the whole reason that they're fighting is to get an audience with the Queen, and it's like, oh, you're literally fighting her right now, so here's your audience, prove yourself. But she's impressed that they fought really well and that they're willing to like risk themselves for this, but they also like are looking out for each other. But she does agree to let them take shelter in the jungles there and hunt if they need to while they search for the rest of Andarna's kind. And they even say that they will help fight alongside them, like fight the Venom, but they want the price of 12 dragon eggs, 2 of each breed. And then she will bring her army to the continent. So it's kind of like, we'll do what you're asking, but it's a big price that we're going to ask. And so it's like, fuck, what are they going to do, guys?
Eventually, they're going to get some dragon eggs at the end of this book.
Yeah, here you go. Not just a shell, they want the whole egg.
The whole egg. So next aisle, and I know we go through a lot of aisles here, and I think sometimes people thought that this part of the book was slow. And I think what I would say is I thought this part of the book was extremely detailed. There was a lot of world building, and every single piece of it so freaking important.
But also it's like we need this because on their own map, like they only have their continent. Like everything else, like Violet jokes, like it's just like scribbled like chicken scratch of like what the aisles are because it's unknown. So I think it's really important that Rebecca Yarros put this in here because we need to know what these worlds are like because no one else does. So it's like it's exposure not only for us as like our world building, but also their own world building.
Yes.
So it's like maybe it's not bigger, as exciting and like smutty as we want it to be, but it's very important. And I know she's not going to do us dirty. She will give us what we want later.
Yes. So next up is the Isle of Hedota. How are we saying this? Hedota?
Hedotus?
Hedus. We're going to call it Hedus. And we get to meet Xaden's mom. I can't wait for the comments on our pronunciation of all these words. Please come for me.
We're butchering it.
But my jaw dropped when I read this. I always thought we would meet his mom probably in this book because of how many times like she came up in like book 2. But I didn't expect... And she just left, right? I didn't expect it to be on the Isles. I always thought she maybe was Venom. That was kind of like my theory in the second book. But spoiler alert, Xaden's not happy to see Mama because she abandoned him at the age of 10 on his 10th birthday because her time required in her contract marriage was over. And she was like, bye. So he's not pleased.
Breaks your heart.
It really does. Because I think he, not just like everything that happened to him because of the rebellion with his dad, but also because, like his mom chose to leave.
Yeah. I mean, we do find out like she wanted to take him. She just couldn't, but she still chose. Like
She still chose to leave. She could have stayed. She
you
could
could
have
have
came and
stayed.
visited him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, but now it's time for dinner with Zane's mom, Talia, her husband, the rest of the triumvirate, who are
Yeah,
trying
everybody.
to, and I love this. I can only imagine like Xaden's facial reactions. They're trying to convince him to marry Kat for like, let's say 4 years, like enough time to get an heir, which is just like if you're Violet, you're like, what the actual fuck is happening?
It's
And
kind of funny because it's like, is that how Xaden was feeling when like everybody assumed that like Dane and Violet were going to be together? It's like everybody was
probably,
assuming Xaden and Kat were going to be together, and they're just like, guys, no, like, stop trying to
well,
arrange our lives for us.
and I think at this point, right, like Kat is like, she realizes like there's nothing that's going to break the two of them apart. So I think she has like started to move on a little bit. Um, but then he does my favorite part of like the aisles, really, which is where he's like, draw the papers for a lifetime. Her name is Violet Sorrengail, 2 hours.
Whew.
Like, Ray just, whew,
Yes. Again, he's
it's
like, I'm going to marry her. She's who I choose.
right. Exactly. And I love that because he's so clear and confident about it. And I'm also like, girl, do you not pick up what he's putting down? Like, he would
Oh,
marry you today.
yes.
How are you not seeing this? You were super smart. But dinner starts to go sideways, as if, trying to
Hmm.
arrange a marriage wasn't enough. When the
Right.
chocolate cake
Yeah.
comes out, because Zayden loves chocolate cake, like we all know. And his mom has been hoarding chocolate for weeks because it's hard to come by, which means that she knew they were coming, right? Which I think is an important clue. And when the chocolate cake's delivered, I did not notice this on the first read, but when I reread it, the forks are missing for the four of them, for her husband, the other two members of the triumvirate.
Yes.
Why? Because the cake has been poisoned, right? Which is fine, except Garrick apparently loves himself some chocolate cake like the rest of us and almost dies.
He's like Bruce from the Matilda movie, and he's just like eating cake and they're like, Bruce, just like cleaning the whole plate,
It's just
Like, Garrick, come on, buddy.
no one else has picked up the fork and he is like halfway done with his cake.
Yeah, because they realize like this is weird. What's going on?
Well, and I
Because
also
it's
think
that
like
tea. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
I
go
also
ahead.
think it's kind of manners too, right? Because I think like if you get like dessert delivered to you and you're at like a more of a formal setting, you kind of like wait till everyone else starts eating at the same time. Like there's like a moment where like, oh, they didn't have their forks. I would wait and I would not eat until you had your forks or your meal. And I feel like
Yeah.
Garrett's like, fuck it, it's chocolate cake, people.
He's like,
Like
what are
that's
you
how
guys waiting for? Come on.
that's exactly how I imagined it in my head. But great
Yeah.
news, because Violet's been playing chess. She's apparently poisoned them too with tea. And she has the antidote, she tells them, if they'll give her the one for Garrick, which they refuse to do. And the whole point of like this situation is like there's all these tests, right, that they're trying to get her to pass that are weird um
Yeah.
and clearly like the cake was a test that they wouldn't have eaten it, but Garrick did. So, but thankfully Violet figures out the antidote for Garrick and he lives. You also see Riddick kind of get quasi stabbed and make a really funny comment here about like I fucking hate sewing and you cut my jacket, which I think is just like it's not like, oh, I almost got stabbed and died. It's
Yeah.
like I have to sew now, which I also just can't imagine him sewing, so that's also
Yeah.
hilarious to me.
He's like, first I don't get to eat the chocolate cake, then I get stabbed, then I gotta sew. Like, oh, Quest Squad,
This
come on, man.
right? This is not what I envisioned for Quest Squad
These shirts were not meant Quest Squad.
for this.
Yeah.
But one thing that's interesting, right, showing that Violet again is playing checkers, is because she saw that Talia had two other sons. And they were sent away for dinner. She knew
Yeah,
something
she
was going to
noticed.
happen, right?
Yeah.
And so she has Adarna waiting outside where Talia's other two sons are staying for the night to ensure that Violet and crew get out safely before Adarna leaves. So she really has thought of everything. And I think this is where
But
you
I
start.
really don't think though that Violet would have hurt the sons. Like,
No, I
she's
don't
very much
either.
like, they're innocent, but she's willing to play the game, play the
Yes.
chess game of it. But of course, like, Talia doesn't know this, so she's like, oh my god, I already lost one child. I don't want to lose my other ones. So you're kind of like, all right, she's got some motherly instinct there. I mean, But
Maybe.
anyway, go Violet. She plays the part. She gets what she wants.
She does.
Um, so they leave on to the next aisle, which is Zelnia. Wait, ugh. How do you guys say this one? Zelnia? How do you say it?
Zelnia, I think. And then I
Because like the
say the
god is
gifts.
Zenal.
Zanal. I say Zanal. So I think it's Zel. Now, see, it's like
Zelna?
you say it so many times in your head, and you're like, that can't possibly be right now that I've said it.
Right? I think it's Zelna.
I think it's Zelna.
Okay, we're gonna go with that because I think Zenal and then Zelna they match, you know. Okay, so we go to Zenal. Wait, Zelna. Oh, whatever, guys. We go to the aisle Z.
You know which one we're talking about.
You know we're talking about because shit gets real. It is not always the luckiest island. And so they have some magic, but not enough to channel or to wield or even like properly shield themselves. But the dragons finally can talk to each other and their riders. So it's kind of like a welcome, like breath of fresh air. They can have a little bit like of what they're used to. But they get a completely different welcome on this isle. People are excited. They are waiting for them, like open arms. They're like cheering for them. And at this point, they're like, every stranger we've met has tried to kill us. So like, this is very skeptical.
Yes.
But they get to have an audience with the queen. And basically, the test here is they have to see what gifts Zenal has chosen for them. And so you're like, okay. But like the trick is like you have to be appreciative. Like you have to welcome and say thank you for the gift, no matter what it is. And if you don't, then like deal's off. So they're like, oh, okay. Like, let's just do our best here, guys. So Mira goes first. She is gifted some wine. And she's like, oh, okay, sweet. Thanks so much.
That's like the best
Marin,
gift.
right? Yeah, I'm like, give me some wine, please. I'll take it. That's fine. Marin is given 2 orange tunics. And you're like, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Cool. Dane, which I think we all are excited about this one. Dane gets a slap across the face, which you're like, all right, somebody has really needed that one.
Right?
Like he needed to get that. Garrick is given a rusty steel bucket. And you're like, interesting. Arik is given a broken mirror.
I think there might be more to that one.
Yeah, I think there is too. And honestly, like if we step back and think about a lot of these things, it's like these are all things like they actually needed. Obviously, like Dane needs a slap across the face. Marin, maybe the orange tunics are for her brothers.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, it's like maybe it's needed for them for something. Mira definitely needs a glass of wine or the whole bottle because girl's been through a lot. I don't know what the rusty steel bucket's going to be for yet for Garrick. And yeah, like the broken mirror, you're like, I don't know. It's like he can see into the future, but the future's broken.
Yeah. Well, and I think also he needs to look at, he's been hiding who he has been for so long, right? And so I think that also could be like, you need to reflect upon yourself, like until you're honest about who you are, right? There's part of you that'll be broken. Because it also like cuts, I think like a piece of glass cuts him when he gets it.
Yeah. 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 See, all these good things. Xaden is given an empty box. Like it's like the size of like a foot with like pewter hinges and edges. And it's very similar to perhaps like the box that Takara's had the venom inside of. So it's like, what's in the box? What do I put in the box?
Why is it an empty box? Yeah.
Why is it empty? What am I supposed to put in it? Violet is given a broken compass, which, you know, there's all these theories. Like I do believe in this one that I think it's going to help her find Xaden later, like or like find the cure. Because it's like the whole thing is like it's going to help you find what your heart desires. Is it going to help her find Andarna? Is it going to help her find their people? Help her find Xaden, the cure? I don't know. We're going to find out in book 4 or 5. How dare you drop this breadcrumb for us? But, you know, it's something that she needs. Riddick is given a kiss by a guy, which again, he's like all for it. And he's like, yeah, give me those kisses. Quest Squad is great. I love it.
I also wonder with this time, a lot of what you see, because we know he's bisexual, but you see he has more relationships with, or at least more one-night stands with women, at least in like the kind of the things that we see. I wonder if this is trying to tell him like, maybe you should look at the opposite sex. Maybe you should stop pursuing women. Maybe a man's in your future.
Yeah, it's like maybe like you're having one night stands with women, not so much with men. Although I mean, he kind of does a little bit, but it's like, or maybe you just need love, and you don't care
Yes,
who it comes from. You just need some love.
that's true.
But maybe it's saying that your mate, your future person, is a man. It isn't
That's
going to
what
be a
my
woman.
take is, right?
Yeah, it's like your future person who you're going to connect with is going to be a guy.
And it's not
Either way,
Xaden. I know
and it's not
Verdict
Xaden.
thinks Xaden's hot, but he's taken.
Oh yeah, remember? And he's like, "Oh man, if you weren't turned on, like I don't know if I'm turned on or scared.
A little bit of both.
Little bit of both." And then Kat is given a golden necklace with a ruby on it. You're like, okay, why does Kat need this? I don't know. Drake gets the claw. Uh, Say hello to Broccoli, the cute little kitty cat. I love it so much. Which later I was like, what if that's like a baby panther?
That would have been good. But it's just like
Yeah,
a orange
but
cat.
it's broccoli, which he's like, it's good for you, but you don't really want it, so broccoli. But then Traeger, oh my god, I hate this. He gets the arrow, which means he dies. He gets killed. Like literally, they just like shoot him and like kill him right there, and you're just like, at that moment leading up to it, Kat was starting to, like let go of Xaden, let go of their future, and she was starting to kind of like have an attraction with Traeger. And he's even been like, why are you pining for somebody who doesn't want you? And there's plenty who do. Meaning like Traeger's like into Kat and like wants to like have a future with her. And it's just like, how fucked up is that? Like she finally moves on to find happiness with Traeger and then he dies
In front of her.
in front of all of them. And they have to say thank you. They cannot react and be outraged and be upset. Like they have to just like go up and say thank you. And it's just like, shit. It's heavy. I cried actually at that part.
I did too.
Yeah. But like the only good news after that point is that because they passed this test, they've agreed to send an advanced party within the next few months, and the rest of 40,000 troops wherever they're needed to help fight the venom. So it's like
Which is like
Violet.
I was like, that's the first time we've really gotten a troop commitment too.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the Queen of Umbria was like, okay, like I'll do this if I get the eggs and everything, but like these guys are the first ones again. They're like, okay, we're gonna help you and we'll help you right now. But you're like, yay! All we had to do was sacrifice one of our friends. Shit. And Violet's just super devastated about what happened, and she can feel how much Kat is suffering. But Xaden reminds her, like, hey, you know what? You're a leader. You were selected to be like the general of the dragons, if you will. So you have a choice now to make. You can either step into the leadership or be dragged in by Taryn. But it's like either way, like you're going to be ending up in the front and you have to be a leader, and you just kind of have to like swallow this pain and like move forward, which we know Violet is good at doing. We know she's good at hiding her pain and like locking it away. But it's still just like it's so heartbreaking to see that up front for her and like her friends. But
It is.
that's a breadcrumb for the role she's going to play in the rest of the book and the future.
Well, and I
She
think
has to go through these trials.
Xaden's been preparing her for it too, right? Because he could have stepped up multiple times up until this point, and he's chosen not to. He's chosen to let her lead and defer to her. Um, and I think that's because he knows that he's going to have to. The other thing I think is interesting, you mentioned like how much pain she's been through. One of the things that I've heard a lot of people say about the book is like there's so many other characters, especially at the college. We learn the names of so many other students. And I think that's because after Iron Flame, I do think we saw this change in Violet because before she tried not to remember the names of the first years because so many of them die. And I think she's stepped into like, no, I want to know everyone's name. I want to know everything. And she's taking some of that on herself. And I think trying to process it in a much healthier way than she had in the first two books, where I felt like she tried to keep it buried deep. Now, is she processing it in the way that is probably the healthiest? I mean, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
she's young. She's young. She's still
Right?
feeling it.
But I think she's trying to not allow kind of like what the writers typically do, which is like not get close to people. I think she's stopped doing that. And she's trying to get close to as many people as possible. So, But next, it's time to search the unmapped isles, and Violet and Riddick are paired together. And Garrick's paired with Xaden. He makes a funny comment about it's like you and me, honey bear, which I thought was just like, I need more Garrick. I really
Yeah.
do.
It's kind of like, is
Um,
Riddick rubbing off on him at this point? You
right? Or
know?
is that who he is and we just don't know? Because
Yeah.
we've not seen a lot of him, honestly. Like in terms of multiple conversations where he's not with Xaden. But then you get this hilarious moments between Riddick and his dragon when they're like kind of like play fighting in the water. At least that's how I envisioned it. So they're both like a good time. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden
They're
out of
having
nowhere,
fun.
right? The Irids show up.
Yeah.
Adarna's
You're
breed.
like,
Like
hello.
they,
Hi.
hello.
Thanks for
Um,
finally showing up.
well, that would have been nice if you'd done it sooner. So like the thing
Right.
I don't know here is this clearly this is not their isle, but this is where they've chosen to come. And they can speak to Violet, which is surprising because normally, right, you can only speak to the dragon you're bonded to, or at least that's what we think. And I just imagine Andarna, they're like, Andarna, tell us about things. And she's like so happy to like, this is my family. I'm telling you my story. You have Taryn in like protective dad mode about her, which is like really kind of
Yeah.
nice to see. Cause half the time you
She's
think
like
he like
super excited.
super excited, right? Because half the time, like I feel like Taryn's like, will you stop, Andarna? Like, oh my goodness, child.
That's
But
how
so
I
it's
feel
nice,
with my kids. You're just like, stop it. Sit
right?
down.
But it's nice to see him like protective about her. But what's sad is the Irids are basically pretty pissed about what's happened to her because she bonded as a juvenile, she used her powers too early, she flew into battle, and come to find out while she's telling the story, they're actually testing them, but not Andarna. They were testing Violet because they believe that Violet has used Andarna. Which is, if you know anything about Violet and Andarna, like that is 1,000% not the case. So it's so heartbreaking for them to have that perception. And then they
Yeah.
say to Andarna, which I think is really, really important. And I don't know if I've not heard a lot of people talk about it, but it's like, I think one of the last lines of one of the chapters, and you, our very hope, have handed this human something far more dangerous to wield, haven't you? Right? So
It's like she doesn't know. She's so
she does,
young and like,
but I think it's interesting because they call Andarna their very hope, which means there's something bigger at play than just fighting the venom, right? But then two, that she's given Violet something far more dangerous to wield. And then they say that they refuse to help them, which breaks Andarna's heart. Like I can't, that poor girl was so excited to find her family to be, because right, she's the head of her den. She wants to find her kind and they're not going to help her. And then Xaden shows up and the other
yeah.
Irids realize that he's Venom. So that doesn't go well either.
Yeah,
And
no,
they say
no.
there's no cure for Venom, which then causes Riddick to learn that Xaden is Venom.
Yeah, he's like, what have you been hiding from me? What the hell? Quest Squad, guys.
Quest Squad.
He's really
And I
pissed.
think I love this for him though, because I think this is the time where he's just like, people don't get really pissed at Violet. Like Xaden gets pissed at Violet, but like oftentimes I feel like she makes these decisions by herself that do involve her friends, and she doesn't bring them into the conversation as early enough as she probably should. So he's pissed at her for keeping it from like Ree, Sawyer, and Josina. And he
Yeah.
basically says, like, you have to tell them. And
Yeah, like,
he also makes a comment that, like, I also would like for you to tell Mira and Brennan, but I'm okay if you just tell like our core group and then I'll keep your secret. And basically, like, chastises her as like, listen, you've got to stop doing this shit. We're a
yeah.
team.
Yeah, and like that was his whole reasoning for like wanting to go on Quest Squad anyway. He's like,
Yes.
when we're separated, like something always goes wrong. It's like you need one of us with you just to like, like to help. And like this is his moment where he's like, you know what? You're about to make the wrong decision. Like, and I need to be here to kind of be like your like angel on your shoulder and be like, you need to do the right thing here.
Yes.
Which, you applaud. You love Riddick. And you're like, you know what? Not only is he just like a cute, sassy, like fun guy that is your BFF, but like he's also there. He's like, I'm going to tell you when you need to be real. And like, that's a true friend, you know?
Yeah. He's your ride or die, I feel like, right? And he's like, I mean, that's what we are. Like, stop keeping us out of the loop.
Yeah. He's like, we do this together, y'all. Let's do it. So then they go back, and so she agrees, and they get back to Basgiath, and they're questioned for hours by the scribes because, the scribes are like, oh my gosh, new information. We want to know. Like, tell us everything. And they aren't getting in trouble because the king is super excited to have Eric back. Because he's like, my son's been missing for so long, and like, now I know where he is, and he's back and he's alive. But they also learn that there's been a lot more of attacks going on there. And it's becoming super clear that somebody is feeding the Venom all this information about the alloy shipments, about just kind of like where the wards are weakened. So it's like, how many people are helping the Venom, and like, who is it? Who's doing this? Like,
And going unnoticed. Like, that's
yeah,
what's crazy, is they've been going unnoticed.
yeah. And then we see, well, something. Xaden has a silk nightgown made for Violet, and you're like, yes, nice, sexy. And she gives him an onyx bracelet made from the turret at the Ryerson house. And like Brennan had it made for her. And I do think there are some runes in this thing. Like I know you're not feeling it's a Horcrux and all that stuff. But like I think there's significance in there.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think there's something with the bracelet. I really do. Because it's interesting, right? Like, it's made from the house, and also Brennan's involved. I think there's more going on with Brennan. And she gives it to him on his birthday. I think somehow it's going to do so. I don't know what it is, but it's going to do something. Because if it was something that wasn't meant to have zero meaning, it would have just been a bracelet that she had made for him. It wouldn't have come from the house. She wouldn't have mentioned that Brennan was involved.
But also, why a bracelet?
Good question.
Is this her way of proposing?
I don't know. He probably looks I imagine it's kind of like one of those thicker bracelets, and he has like thick muscular arms, so he probably looked really sexy wearing it. That was just my I projected that.
Just that. Can he wear just the bracelet, please?
I'm sure that could be arranged.
I'm sure that can be arranged. But then Xaden has also decided to open up his borders to all of Peromish civilians, because at this point, even though everybody is aware of the Venom and the attacks they're doing, King Tori still has not allowed any of the Peromish civilians to like come and be safe behind the wards, which honestly is really fucked up. It's like, come on, man. Like, don't be a dick. Don't close your border when people are hurting. Be a good person. I'm not being political here.
That's exactly what I was thinking, right? Not a lot of people need to hear that right now.
Yes, like let's help one another. So kudos to you, Xaden. Love you so much. He's like, fuck this idea. We are helping people. It's the right thing to do. And Halden gets really pissed off about this, of course, because he gets pissed off by everything. He's a little pussy.
Yes,
and I'm okay with that, because like whatever pisses him off, it means you're doing the right thing. But then we see that Lynx, one of the other writers, has finally manifested their powers, and it's shadows, which is really weird because at this point, Xaden's been the only one to have a shadow. So it's like, is this nature's way of balancing itself out? Since now, like, Xaden is a Venom, did magic find another shadow wielder, and like they need someone on both sides? And you kind of see Xaden, like, even though he's trying to like help Lynx through this and figure it all out, he's starting to be like, I'm really not part of this world anymore. Like I'm losing all my hope. Like I'm gone. And your heart kind of breaks because you're like, no, there's still hope for you. Why not to? Maybe you can be halfway.
Well, because it was so nice. He was so comforting, and we saw kind of that really like relaxed, comforting, nurturing Xaden that we've seen with Violet, that we saw when there was no magic. But it also, right,
fatherly figure-ish.
Exactly. But then it's like you also see, like, part of, I think, his heart was breaking because that's what has made him special. But we do get to see Sawyer finally try and get back on his dragon, because like the entire book, right, Sawyer's been like, I don't know if I can do this again. And while it's a struggle, he does make it work, which leads me to believe that he will play a role in future books. There's something that's going to happen with him, and it better not be that he dies, because he's already lost a leg, just to be clear.
He's already, it's like he's already sacrificed so much. Like, come on.
There's nothing else. But now it's time for the second squad's rotation in Ariada. And Violet finds out that Brennan has been... Erasha, what is wrong with me?
Nothing. Nothing is wrong.
Apparently saying that word today. Um, but Brennan has been trying to mend Xaden for the past week. So while he's losing hope, not all of his hope has been lost, but Brennan has been very unsuccessful. And then we get an extremely spicy scene that Megan cannot wait to tell you about in a few minutes because need a little fan with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Just
I'm gonna cover Andarna's ears so she doesn't hear it all.
doesn't hear it when we talk about this.
Yeah, that's right.
But we also
it's so good.
It's so good. We also see more of Violet's dream walking because now she's in Xaden's dream. So the dreams that she's had in Iron Flame were about the venom were actually Xaden's dreams that she's been seeing. And this is the first time.
I always kind of figured. I'm like, it isn't her clearly in the stream. Like, it's Xaden. But like, why? Why are we seeing that? And now it's all come to play that like this is another power. This is her second signet.
Exactly. And Andarna's like, this is the power she gave Violet, but didn't tell her because Violet needed to figure it out for herself. And you have Terran go like, why didn't you tell, like, in dad voice, why didn't you tell her? And he's like, she's like, well, you didn't tell her about the lightning until, like, she had to figure it out. But that makes me wonder, is this the power that the Irid was so angry about Violet having?
Yeah.
If it is, what does it mean? Which this is my kind of like thought, is if this is truly like so powerful, assuming that this is what the Irid's talking about, does that mean that she can potentially influence dreams and therefore kill someone in their dreams? Or potentially mind walk, right? Like, and literally that would be really powerful. And we know from like things that Rebecca Yarros has said on some of her book tours that like we've seen, I think she said like 10% of this power. And there's only one other person that could train Violet in it. Right? So it makes me believe that there's more to it.
Yeah.
So.
I still think potentially that like some of Andarna's gift was from the lightning too. I don't know. It just kind of goes to play with like, you know, the ground
sky
is where the Venons pull their magic, and like the sky is where Andarna and her kind pull their magic. And so it's like she has sky power, or, you know, like it comes into play as lightning. So
yeah,
I still think, I don't know, Violet is the mystery here.
She is.
Violet herself. She's an Irid herself.
Maybe. I mean, there are theories out there that she has partially dragon blood because that when she first meets some of the dragons, they sniff her and she thinks it's because it's of Teen's scales.
Her sister's scales, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think
Kodak talks to her or like listens to her, right? And she shouldn't be allowed to
other dragons.
I know. So I think there is some potential that there's something there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe it's like she's like Andarna waited to be awoken after 100 years because she was waiting for Violet. But like Violet is also the first of her own, like, you know, kind. She also maybe Violet can do everybody's, you know, maybe Violet has everybody's signet in a way that like just like evolves.
I think she might be. I think her first signet, while it comes out as lightning, is actually true power.
Yeah.
And it just like shows as lightning, which would mean that she could make it do whatever she wants. Like she could do lots of other things. She just chooses to wield it as lightning.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm sure Rebecca Yarros laughs at all these theories that we all talk about. And she's like, y'all are, it's kind of like Taylor Swift with her Easter eggs where we've like convinced ourselves everything is going to cause Reputation Taylor's version to drop. And here we are waiting a year and a half later and still don't have it.
Still don't have it. But anyway, but now we are under attack from the Wyvern or Wyvern. Again, I don't know how to pronounce that. Wyvern,
I think.
Wyvern, yeah. But Xaden isn't going to let Bodhi fight because he's the one who's first in line. He's like, if I die, like, or if you die and I die, like, we're fucked. So he's like, Bodhi, you need to stay behind and like protect the family line. Even though neither one of them really care about that. Like, Bodhi's like, fuck them. Like, I don't care about Tyrandor. I mean, he does, but he doesn't.
He doesn't want to be the Duke.
No, he doesn't care about the title. But it's still important that we see this because, you know, Bodhi is struggling with the role that he's being forced to play and that he doesn't have much of a choice and he, you know, is forced to do it. But we also see Eric telling Violet to protect the Dune Temple. So he's like, you know, see into the future. He's like, you need to protect the Dune Temple because it's the only way to save Tyrandor, which is because he knows that Violet and Xaden will need to get married there later. So if you want to save Tyrandor, you need to get married here, save the temple, make sure it doesn't get destroyed. Eric, you are a fortune teller. Seer. But again, that's a little drop when you read it again. You're like, oh my God, he knew. It's amazing.
Yes.
I love it. So during this battle, Taryn is badly hurt. Another time that I'm crying and thinking he's going to die. And I'm like, Rebecca Yarros, don't do this to me. You already took away Traeger. You already took away Liam. Taryn has to live. Like, I will accept no other outcome. But Violet, Taryn, and Andarna tried to protect the Dune temple, even though Taryn's saying that he would rather choose to save Violet over the priestesses that are inside of the temple. Like, there's people there, they're trying to save them, and he's like, I don't care about them, I don't care about you. You're my writer. And of course, Theophany shows up, and, you know, she plants all of these things. She's a chess player. And we learn that she was a priestess of Dune, which is why her hair is white. Because again, when they were there, like all of them, when they're dedicated, their hair, like, it's weird. But it clearly means that Violet was dedicated at some point too, maybe just halfway. And then Violet starts to wield her lightning, and they're fighting each other. Wyvern, whatever, start falling from the sky because the wards in Erasia are back up. They had fallen temporarily. That's why they were able to get through. But they get him back up. There's a huge fighting scene here. And thankfully, the Irid that originally was talking to Andarna, like the kind of like daddy figure for her, he shows up and he helps to fire the ward stone in Erasia. So at least they're saved. They have, you know, those wards back up. But then we get to this next little part. That's just...
I cried so hard in this part. So basically, the Irid comes, right? And he tells Andarna to come with them to learn the ways of the Irid, but it will take years, and she'll need to break the bond between her and Violet. But since she is magic, she has the power to do so. So that's also interesting, that she is magic, which means she can bend magic. And the Irid asks again, what dragon bonded to Violet first? So this is like this multiple times in this book, we've heard this question be asked by both the Irids and by Theophany, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's going to come to, but there's something. So Violet does exactly what you would expect her to do, which is she tells Andarna that she loves her. She wants her to feel complete, even if that means they're not together. And when she says this, like, I think that's when the other Irid breaks the bond between Andarna and Violet. Because I don't think Andarna breaks it. Because Andarna looks kind of shocked, and like right after Violet says that. And then Andarna leaves with him. And I sobbed.
Leothan, that was his name.
Leothan. I sobbed hysterically. Because it was like, it's heartbreaking. When I love Andarna, I hurt for Taryn. I hurt for Sigel. Right? Like, they're her pseudo parents. They've been like helping raise her. And it feels like she chose to go with the Irids. And did she choose? I don't know, because I think the bond was broken for her. Maybe she didn't have a choice, but she also wants to know about her own kind, which I think makes a lot of sense. But you have poor Violet, who is heartbroken. She doesn't leave the bed for multiple days. And
because it's like, you know, when their dragons die, they die. And so it's like, it's like this bond's been broken. Part of her has died, it feels.
Yes.
Maybe that's why it's important of like who bonded you first, because if Andarna did in fact bond her first, then like, would she have died? Like, is she really only alive because Taryn bonded her first?
I don't know. Maybe. But like, one of the things that Violet says is she no longer dreams, and she believes that's because Andarna's gone. And then we definitely learn this part that Violet was partially dedicated to Dune. And that's part of the reason why their grandma stopped speaking to their parents. And Mira has been acting, right? This grandma is going to be very important, I think. And Mira's been acting really weird throughout the book towards Violet, because she's been worried based on like almost like a prophecy that she thinks is about Violet, that Violet's going to turn. And that's when she finds out that Xaden is Venom. Spoiler alert, Mira's pissed again that something's being held from her, right? Like everyone knew but her. We are not helping the middle child
Right.
in
I
this
feel so bad for
situation.
Mira. It's like first all this shit is hidden from her about her brother being still alive. And then, like she finds out about the whole Xaden thing and then about Xaden being Venom. And it's just like, oh my God, girlfriend. No wonder you needed that glass of wine.
You
You
need a
needed
couple
it to get through
bottles,
this. You need
right?
yeah. You need a vineyard.
She needs broccoli. I hope like one, I think her and Drake should hook up, but two, I feel like and then they could like co-parent broccoli together.
Yeah, that's their little baby. But dude, I'm so sad that like Andarna's gone, and she's just like a piece of her soul has been ripped out, which that also happened to Xaden.
I
His
did.
part of his soul is gone.
That's true.
So then we see, another fight between Xaden and Bodhi about Bodhi wanting to like drop out of the school and he just wants to fight and he doesn't want to stay and be like the second in line, the spare, if you will. But Xaden is just kind of like, no, dude, like you're next in line, like you have to stay. Bodhi doesn't give a fuck. And then Violet again walks into another one of Xaden's dreams, which is weird because Andarna's gone and she hasn't been having those dreams. But when she wakes up, she learns that Theophany has taken Mira, and you're like, oh, God, Mira, you can't catch a break.
Right?
And she wants Violet to bring Xaden's brother, which I still think is Jack. I'm like, a lot of people think it's somebody else. I know you think it's somebody else.
Well, I think in
it's
this
Jack.
case, I think she was talking about Jack. They wanted Jack.
Okay.
I think at
Okay,
the
yeah,
end, when Berwin says brother, I think that's someone else.
You think that's? Yeah,
I think that's someone else.
I don't know.
I think this is Jack.
I still think it's always Jack. Yeah, but yeah, it's like if you want your sister, bring me Xaden's brother. You're just like, oh my God, like. First of all, I do think that Mira can take care of herself. I think she could beat the shit out of Theophany if she really has to, because she's badass. But you still just feel bad that like all this stuff gets thrown at her, and she's just like stuck in the middle and just being told to go where she has to go, and she's like, God damn it, can't I?
And she's also like, I don't want to be here, right? I feel like the song by Taylor Swift that's like, I hate it here. Like I feel like that's Mira's like at this like kind of this book that's her song like I hate it here so I go to secret gardens in my mind like all of you are like really fucking up my life. I really need you to stop. But then it's time for like this major battle at the end and there's a lot that happens.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I didn't notice this in the first time I read it, but when I reread at the beginning of the battle we have Arik, he's spotted flying away from the conflict. And Violet thinks to herself, that's really weird. Like, why would he do that? And it becomes important later, right?
Yeah.
We see Garrick distance walk and brings Jack, which should fulfill the deal. And Theophany says, like, it does, except, once again, because she plays chess, not checkers, she's like, technically, I only said let the city stand. I didn't say that Mira would live. And she is correct. She did not say that. And we should learn by now that we need to be very specific with our word choices when we negotiate things. So she slits Mira's throat. And then I started sobbing again because, like, yes, we had Traeger die, but I felt like we were still waiting. Rebecca Yarros likes to destroy us, right? Especially like later on in the books. And I'm like, I'm still waiting for like the Liam-esque death in this book. And so I'm like, fuck, it's going to be Mira. Like poor Mira.
No one is safe. No one
is safe, right? They've been fighting with. Brennan works to heal Mira. And then we have like Sloane comes in, ends up siphoning some of Dane's power to Brennan to save Mira. And then we see a couple of things that are interesting, right? One, that Sloane sees that Dane has a lot of power, which we've heard Dane say before, that his dragon channels a lot of power. So I think there's more to come about, like, I think Dane's signet is a lot stronger than we know. And I don't know how much he knows of that. Right? Because your signet.
Because all we knew before was like he has to touch you and he can like read your memories. And you're like, what else can you do, Dane?
But we've also learned that like the more you train it, the stronger it gets. So if he's not actively training it, he may not even realize like how powerful it is. which I think is going to come in when Violet tries to regain her memories. But the other thing that's interesting is there's no mark on Brennan or Dane from this when the siphon happens, which is odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why is that?
What do you think? What's your theory on that one?
Well, I think Brennan is tied to Naolin. And I think that he has a rune in him. And I think that when Naolin, whoever he is, which I know we'll talk about in a second, I think if he dies, I think Brennan dies. And I think Brennan is alive because of magic. I don't think Brennan's really alive. So that's why I think you don't see anything happen to him and therefore not happen to Dane. I also think Sloane is going to be really important in the future books because two reasons. I think Liam was so important in book 1. And for his sister to come and for her to have this specific power and to she's played a huge role in book 2, right? She just played a big role in book 3. Yeah. So I think we're going to get more.
Yeah.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
Breadcrumbs. Come on, Rebecca.
Breadcrumbs. All these breadcrumbs. So many breadcrumbs.
Where's the bread?
Where's the, right?
What if it's chocolate cake crumbs?
Oh, see, like I would get on board with that. But I need the chocolate cakes like soon.
Not to be poisoned either.
Yeah, and preferably gluten-free.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
But Derek leaves with the trunk with Jack in it. But a couple of things about this. They're not clear about where he goes with it. Like, where does he take Jack? Does he take him back to the college? Does he take him somewhere else? And also, why do the Venom care about him? Like, that it's very specific. Like, she asked for his brother. She was glad they brought, like, it was Jack that she wanted. But then, like, nothing happened. Like, then they just take him back.
Yeah. It's like, so many questions here.
Right?
Like, what is going on? This chess game is very confusing.
There's like 17 chessboards happening at the same time, I think is the problem. And they're all like, I feel like we're like, it's a Harry Potter reference.
Yeah.
When they're playing chess in Harry Potter, right? And
sitting on top of the piece.
You're just sitting on top of the pieces. But what we don't realize is we're like at that level, like on the piece holding on. And like Rebecca Yarros is like up in the sky going, there's like 17 boards. And you don't realize there's 16 other people over here playing to try and kill you. And I'm like, great.
It's like Squid Game almost in that sense. You're just like, who's going to die? Is this chess piece that I'm on going to explode in any minute? I don't know. Maybe.
The answer might be yes. Probably.
It might be yes. Yeah. Oh my God. It's crazy. And at this point, Sloane has also brought something from Eric that bears the unbroken seal of Dune. And you're like, okay, that's significant, but why? Xaden reminds Bodhi to stay with Violet and remember his promise, which, again, he's like, I don't want the fucking province. I don't want to be Duke of Tyrrendor, but I don't know, maybe there's another promise too. Who knows? Taryn has to carry, I always forget this one, Teen.
I call it
Mira's
Teen, yeah.
Teen, yeah, okay. Off of the field because the dragon can't move because shit's gone real. Theophany comes back. Turns out she's not a lightning wielder. She can control the weather, just like Violet's mom did at one point. So it's like nature has a balance. There's always somebody on another side. Which now that her mom is dead, like, does somebody else suddenly get the weather signet?
I think so.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
But who? And there is a point earlier in this book where they call out all of the first years that haven't manifested yet. And maybe that's why.
Yeah, it's like there's somebody here that's going to help us out. Maybe we know, maybe we don't. And then Violet sends Bodhi away because he has a signet that, can't help them. And she doesn't want to worry about him. So again, poor Bodhi, he's getting told like to go away because you can't help and then go away because you have to save everyone else later. But another instance where he just doesn't feel needed, which I know you think that's why he ends up turning, but I don't know. I don't believe that.
I'm convinced. We'll talk about more of that in a second.
I don't know. But then we get a chapter from Ree's perspective, and we get to see her as a squad leader and how she's going to play a critical role in the future books. And Becca and our favorite boy, our favorite little Riddick, he froze a wyvern. Fuck, I can't say that one. But it alludes to that earlier in the book that like he can freeze the the juice, the water inside of an orange without like affecting the peel. So like he can freeze someone from the inside out. And you know that's going to happen later. And so he
I
finally does
cannot
it.
wait.
And it's epic. And so his power is growing, and he's just like a badass. And I love him so much. And I'm so happy for him for being able to like just grow, you know. But oh my gosh.
Well, then it turns out Eric brought the advance party from Zanel.
That's where he was going.
That's where he was going, right? So he was going because he saw them land at the wrong port and went to go tell them. So he's kind of like a little puppet strings too. And then we get a chapter from Imogen's perspective where we see Imogen also has a second signet, which we've never. One thing I want to point out is Bodhi's second signet we don't know about yet. I don't feel like that's come up at all. So I'm curious about that too. But she's an earth/rock wielder, which is very rare. But then we see her best friend Quinn die, and we see that they've been together since the very beginning, which is like also cried. It made me a little worried for Violet and Rhee in this moment, just because no one's safe. Then Garrick shows up and he tells Imogen they have to leave, but she won't leave without Quinn's body, and Garrick says he won't leave without Imogen. And so he takes them both and distance walks, but I don't know where he distance walks to. That was really interesting. I know they talked about who was there, but I wasn't sure exactly where that was or if that's even important.
Where did they go?
Right. But he's really exhausted afterwards.
But this is two people in himself.
Two people. Oof. And he's been fighting like all the things. But this is the point where I'm like, does he have feelings for her that he just hasn't shown yet?
Which you kind of hope so, because,
I kind of hope so.
She loves him. She's into it. Like the first book when Violet's all jealous that like she thinks Imogen and Xaden had a thing. And he's just like, think back about who was on that sparring mat as well.
It wasn't named me. Yeah.
It wasn't me. So I do think they have a little romance going on, hopefully.
I hope so. I hope we get that in book 4 or book 5. Preferably book 4, and neither one of them should die.
Yeah, nobody dies, please.
Nobody dies. So then we have Violet battling Theophany in the storm, and it's so funny because when she's doing this, she keeps getting jabbed by this message from Eric, and she, while she's like on Terran, like opens it up, finds a dagger with a note saying for when you lose your strike in the dark, Violet. Once again, he is helping provide her with what she needs. And then a net is thrown around Terran, and Violet learns they have Sigel too, and then Violet can feel Xaden's rage. And his shadows blanket the area in darkness, and she like kind of sends down the bond like I love you, which he like pulls out, right?
Oh, I just got chills all over again. Just like
right?
Thinking back to the scene. You're like,
it was so good. And then you see like when he does that, Theophany is thrown to the ground, and then Violet's able to throw the dagger at her, which is a special dagger from Dune, which is what allows it to kill her. And she also then sees Andarna before she basically like passes out, I think is the only way I would describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just like, all this is happening all at once. Just like, Andarna? Like, what? Huh?
Yeah. And she's been so close, I think, to burn out like from just everything that's gone on up until that point.
Yeah. There's so many questions here that we have, and we're probably not going to get any answers anytime
for a while.
Soon. Yeah. But then we get one more chapter from Xaden's perspective, and we learn that Panchek has been helping the Venin, and that someone else has turned. Dun, dun, dun. Someone who watched Xaden stumble over the past few months, and then watched Xaden channel to save Sigel and his first love, because we all know your dragon is your first love, and the closest thing to a mom he's ever had, because his mom pieced out when he was 10. So he sees all this, and when this is happening, he is just begging to save the ones that he loves. And he's showing that he can control himself even when he channels, because no one he loves is hurt by this darkness that he's spreading. So he has some control still, but obviously still Venin, so not the best. And then we see Xaden talking to Sigel about how he'll need Violet's help when she's going to be, which she promises that she will help. And Sigel's going to need to convince Terran. And it's just like a whole, like, more mysteries going on here. And he's just like, I need help. Can you please do this for me? Even though, like, I know I've broken my promise to you and I, channeled when I'm not supposed to. And then we don't know what happens. Like, the next 12 hours are just, we are in darkness. We are in blackout. Yes. We don't know. All we know is that Brennan finds Violet and Darna is there. And she says she's not going to let them burn Violet. And you're like, oh, fuck. Is
Yeah.
Violet a Venin? Taryn needs to recover because he's exhausted. 6 dragon eggs are missing. So remember originally, like, they wanted 12 for that one island, but 6 are gone. Violet now is married, like, looking down is just like, what are you talking
Gorgeous
about?
ring.
And gorgeous ring. And you're like, oh, thank you so much.
That's the whole thing.
But that's all. But then all she has is like a note that says, don't look for me. It's yours now. And all we know is that she looks up at Imogen and just like, what the fuck happened? And Imogen's like, what you asked me to.
Dun, dun,
Wipes
dun.
away her memories are gone. Because again, Imogen, we can't trust you all the time. Like, you are going to wipe our memories, even though you are bestie. But it's just like, there's so many cliffhangers. Honestly, I feel like we are just dangling by a thread.
We are.
Like, I don't. And at this point, I'm like, I might just let go and just like, let me crash to the next book. Because I don't know what's going to happen. Who's going to catch me? What is going on? Oh my God. Rebecca, you did us dirty. But I still love you.
But we loved it. And we will take more.
Maybe we're sadists for that, you know?
Maybe a little bit. We're the problem. It's us.
We are the problem. Oh man. Yeah.
The thing I love about all of her books, even her contemporary romances, is like after you read one of them, you kind of learn like she is going to destroy you. You are going to sob at some point, and then you're going to go, oh, thank you. Can I have another?
Mm-hmm. Like, I remember reading that last part when, like, literally she says, like, what you asked me to. I went back and tried to read the book to be like, did I miss something? Like, did I completely zone out? Like, did I drink too much wine and not realize what was happening? Like, no. And you're just like, what? Huh? Like, I sat up in bed and I was like, are you kidding me? My husband was like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I am
Not
not
okay.
okay. I'm very much not okay. And this is why we created this podcast, because we need to talk about these things, why we're not okay.
Because we're not okay. And then we go into like this book hangover where like I have so many questions. I have more questions than answers. And like, did Andarna break the bond between Sigel and Taryn? Right? Like, did Violet ask Imogen to wipe her memories so she can't be questioned and know anything? Where the hell is everyone else? Is Violet Venin? Where is everyone? Why did Brennan find her? Why don't we know more about Brennan? So many questions. But before we get there and all of our lovely theories that we're going to deep dive into a rabbit hole on, let's talk hot and steamy, because you know we love it.
And steamy.
Hot and spicy and steamy and needing a fan. So we would give this book like a 3.5 pepper rating. It's definitely got some spice. It doesn't have as much spice as we would love, but that makes sense given the plot, right? Like he's trying to keep himself away from her. So I'm just putting it out there that at some point, probably not book 4, because I can see them not being together a ton, but like at some point, I'm going to need like a 4 pepper book, Rebecca, just like letting you know. So the first chapter that we really see something is chapter 3. And one of my favorite quotes from this is, he goes, how do you want me to take you, Violet? Here on your back, with me above you, before me on your hands and knees, with your ass in the air against the wall so I can drive harder, astride so you can control the pace? Tell me. Like, the words that this man says, I feel like a lot of men could learn a lot if they just read some of these books. That's what I'm putting out there.
Because you know, most men, some women too, men are very visual. You know, like you put like a half naked person, whoever you're into, in front of you, and you're just like, be turned on. You're ready to go. Women, at least, I mean, I'm a woman, so I can only really speak from my experience. We need that emotional connection. We need that like those words to be spoken, and like we need a little foreplay in that sense of like, I need to build up. I can't just be ready to go in 2 seconds. And so those words, that sentence, you're just like, oh God, that foreplay right there. Okay,
right.
Let's go. I'm ready. And it's just like, that's, I think, why I love these books, because it's like, it gives you something that like maybe your partner doesn't know how to say those words, or maybe they're trying to learn too and you read it together.
Yes.
But like it just helps, honestly. Like your mind can like explore, like figure out what you like, what you don't like, what turns you on, what doesn't turn you on, like breaking tables. Maybe you're into that. But you know, like having someone who you love and trust asking you what you want and how they can pleasure you is like, oh,
It's so hot, right?
I
Well,
mean,
I
that
think
sentence right there is like a five spice.
Five Spice. I know, right? I think the other thing, like you're saying, is there's not like this time where we're all taught how to speak to each other in like an intimate setting, right? Like how do you learn that? And I think these books are a great way for anyone to learn different things of what they might like to hear, what they could say to someone else so they can figure it out. So for me, like that's been like I was like, I showed this to my husband. I was like, so like something like this, like these words would be great.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, how do you know what to say? And
Yeah.
I need, I like, I like when someone talks to me like that, right? Like, I like
Yeah.
when my husband is more direct and clear and hot like
Yeah.
this.
Dirty talk. Dirty
It
talk is
works.
great.
There's no
And not
class for
everybody
that,
knows how to do it. Yeah, it's like there's no class on like how to dirty talk to your partner. It's like,
right?
and even if there was, like, do you think most people would take it?
No, well, because I think they
Take it.
all are a little like some people are embarrassed by it or
Yeah.
think they're good at it when they're not. But then I also think it's something that a lot of people just like don't feel comfortable doing because the reality is like what works for someone and turns them on isn't going to work for someone else, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's different. So I think there's ways, especially if you're trying to figure this stuff out with someone that you feel really emotionally safe with. I think reading books like this and then being like, hey, like this was, I like this. I
Yeah.
like the scene a lot. I think
Yeah.
can be very helpful. Or like, hey, I'm not into like this type of stuff, or I don't like these types of
Yeah.
words.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's like I like it when you
communication is
talk to me
key.
dirty this way, not dirty that way,
Yes.
or you don't like it at all,
Which
which
is
is fine.
everyone's different.
Everyone's different. Find your cup of tea that's not poisoned.
Yes.
But another fun chapter. Oh, also we have a little bit of a spice in chapter 12 too, when he like after he wakes up and he like rolls over and like forgets that he's Venom, and he's just
Yes.
like all into it, and like literally there's a funny part, not funny, but you know, spicy, where he just like puts his like hands like through her braid, tilts her head back to like find the best angle, and the way he says her name, he just like groans it. He's like Violet, and she just says like I fucking liquefy, which honestly, me too, girlfriend.
Right?
Like, oh yeah. And he's just like, you know, his hands are all over her, like going up the shirts, going down the pants, and you're just like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hmm.
She traces her hands around like his stomach, going into his leathers, and you're just like, yes. But of course, that's when he's like, oh wait, I shouldn't have done that. And it's like a tease. He's like,
Right?
only a kiss, no hands, fully clothed. And you're just like,
Cold water.
okay, I did not love that part. How dare you do this to me? Hmm, it's a
And
bummer.
then make us wait
Um,
13 more chapters.
right? Yeah, that's when you're like, wait, no, please, I want some more. Come on. So then you gotta skip ahead. Let me get my little book out. So you have that little spice there, you know, chapter 12, the tease, and then you're like, boom, this much thickness into the next part. And you're like,
It's a lot.
I'm here for the spice. But I'm also here for the story.
Yes.
Because obviously
I need a
it's
little bit of
great too.
both.
I need a little bit of both. But this is the part where they're on the island where there's no magic. And he's like, just to confirm, I am not a professor, right? I'm not a professor. But I'll be a professor in the bedroom. And so they finally get to get it on. And what we love a good like shower scene, tub scene. Everybody's wet in every
Yes.
way. And you know, she gets out of the tub and he just can't stand it. And he's just like, oh my God, like your naked body, you're wet. He showered somewhere else, so he comes in with just a towel on. You know that towel's coming off.
Yes.
It comes off. She's like pushing it down with her legs. Her legs are wrapped around his waist, like trying to nudge him into her. And you're just like, oh my God, please. I listened to this on audiobook. I've read the book and did audiobook, and I gotta say, you guys, if you are somebody who likes to hear the words, but also like wants to be intimate at the same time, because let's be real, it's kind of hard to like read and then be like, okay, right there, honey. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read this chapter. If you can just put it on audio and have it on speaker and just enjoy it that way, it is very satisfying. And it's lovely. And I love a good scene like that where he's just like, I'm gonna spread your legs, I'm gonna go down on you, and I'm gonna make you scream my name. Which is kind of
Yes,
funny
please.
because yeah, you're like, yes, please, more. More. But then it's really funny because then like right after that scene, like everybody's outside the door being like, hello. And they're like, oh.
And there's no shields, right? Because magic, there's no
shields.
magic.
And
so
he like, has to kind of like cover her mouth and be like, I don't want everybody else hearing you scream. But you're like, oh, I'm gonna scream right now. So anyway, we love that part, and it is so fucking good. And then of course they break the table. Who cares? They're just like, I am just going to use this as leverage to push up against you and have my way with you, and you have your way with me.
Yes, furniture needs to be made stronger in this land.
This is true. I mean, they are very strong, but like they've already broken an armoire. Now they're breaking tables. Then Rebecca breaks our hearts,
Right? Well, and I do love, this is where Riddick goes, like, he makes a comment when they're all outside waiting, like, oh, you broke a table, kind of like you broke that armoire last year, and we all did, like, no one talked about it. And Mira's just, like, Mira is just like, what?
Which, you're kind of like, Mira, honey, do you need to get laid? I think you do.
This is why we need her and Drake to get together and be mom and dad to Broccoli.
Yes, exactly. And then we have chapter 48 and 49. Basically, they're like, come on, I need to grab your ass. And he says love at this point. And so she's just like, okay, let me get to this part. He lifts one of my knees to the top of the padded chair arm. Oh, throwback to the chair scene we all love so much in the throne. He's like, and then the other, and stares up at me with a wicked smirk as his hands slide up to my ass. Grab a hold, love. And, oh, this part's so good. And she's like, what? What are you doing? And his shadows tug her hands up. And you're just like, shadow daddy got some shadow sex up in here. Like,
right?
A little bit of shadow bondage. And you're like, okay. And literally she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, worshiping. And you're like, oh my God. And
another chair scene.
Another chair scene. And, she's just like enjoying it. I need to pour water on myself. I'm going to go nuts. But he's just like, I'll never get enough of you. And that dude knows how to work his mouth. And thank God Rebecca puts details in there, because you're just like, okay, yep, thank you so much. Again, if you want to listen to this on audiobook, I highly recommend this chapter as well, chapter 49. I kind of joked, I'm like, it should have been chapter 69. Because I'm 12. But, it's all good. It is all good. So that's why it kind of got, originally we were thinking maybe it was a 3 spice, because it didn't have a whole lot. It was a lot more of like world building and stuff. But because we have some really good stuff here, we're like 3.5. I voted maybe a 4. So we're like,
it's like getting really close. Yeah. Like I feel like it's getting close to a 4, but I feel like I needed like one more scene.
Yeah. If we had like one more breaking table scene.
Yes.
Maybe.
Or shower or bath scene. Or beach scene.
Or
I have so many ideas.
Post-wedding scene.
That
also, God. How dare you tell us they get married and we don't get to find out they consummate the marriage,
right? Or did they and we don't know? Or like, I need all the things.
We need all the things. But anyway, we will move on now to our theories, which I am going to say, all the sex, I do think that she's pregnant. I know you don't think so.
Hey,
I think she could be.
Let's talk about it. So
okay,
we're gonna theorize.
Okay.
First off, I think it's nonsense about her potentially being pregnant because she mentions not feeling well throughout the book. which I think is
Mm-hmm.
because she has EDS, which is why she
But I
doesn't
think
feel
it's
well.
because they hadn't had sex in 6 weeks. Like that, like
Possible, but she's also
could be.
fighting a constant war. And then if
That's true.
you've read any of other Rebecca Yarros books, especially her contemporary romances, she is really, really big on consent in all sexual situations. Like very clear about it. And so I don't think there's any way that Violet and Xaden would do something that would change their previous decision about like taking things to prevent pregnancy without it being shared with the reader, just because of how she takes it. And I think I might
True.
be mistaken, but I thought there was an interview that she did post book tour, or maybe like one of the last stops on her book tour, where someone asked her about this. And she said she wouldn't do, she basically said Violet wouldn't choose, like, want to get pregnant or wouldn't get pregnant in the middle of a war. Like,
I mean,
and
she
that
wouldn't
she's really,
purposefully.
I know, but and then she said something about her being really big on like consent. Because that's like the one thing that I really appreciate about all of her books is that like it's very clear, especially her contemporary romances, like the first time the main characters have sex, like the male main character multiple times will be like, "Are you sure? Are you sure that this is what you want?" It's like very different than I think some other books that exist in these genres. So that's why. Also, there's like a couple of things, you guys, that I am like gonna die on a hill for. This next one. We need to stop this nonsense that Xaden's soul is in Violet's wedding ring. It is not a fucking Horcrux. This is not
Yeah, no.
Harry Potter. It's not Harry Potter. Rebecca Yarros would not make it like Harry Potter, okay? Like, when he references "it's yours now," which is why people think it's his soul, he's
Yeah.
talking about Trinidor. He
Yeah,
says
he's
the
clearly talking
same
about
thing
Tyrandor.
multiple times in the book when she promises to
Yeah.
protect it. Plus, he
Yeah.
also says he would use Trinidor to protect her, and marrying her, which we heard when he said when he called her a consort, would give her all the privileges and protections of his title, which she is going to need now because he's gone.
Exactly. No, 100% I agree with you on that. There's no doubt in my mind that it's literally all about like it's yours now is all that.
Right. And
100%.
they're like, well, that's what Dune did. No, Dune married them, you guys. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
No.
Finnan.
And that's why the Dune Temple needed to be good.
Exactly, so they could marry them. Okay, we know that the Finnan has infiltrated the college. We know that there's more than one. We believe that Colonel Asshole is definitely one for a while.
Yeah.
Especially like because Violet's dad makes the comments in the letter. I think there's a lot. I think there's more people. I think Markham is one of them as well.
I mean, Panchak.
Panchak. I think
Obviously.
is he still alive, right? Or is he dead?
I think he's dead. I think
think
they
he's
killed him.
okay.
I think they were just like, we don't need you anymore.
But is he Venom?
Kind of
If he's
dick.
Venom, can he die? I guess he could die.
Yeah, he could still die. I mean, they just kill him with their own alloy thing.
I know, but would a Venom kill another Venom with an alloy? Is it like kryptonite? If they touch it, would they die? I don't know. Anyways.
Good question.
Okay.
Good question. Also, okay, first of all, I think Colonel Ados could be a Venom. I think Violet might be a Venom. I hope not. I really hope not. But like really the whole part of like Andarna not wanting to burn her, that tells you, like, what, like why?
Because they know when she wakes, when Brennan finds her and she's like awake, they know that Xaden did this because they saw the shadows. And so she's connected to Xaden, and so the only way to kill Xaden theoretically would be to kill Violet. So that's how I took it. But it's also
that's how I took it at first. You have like to get to him, they have to kill her. Sure. But like then everybody started, theorizing on the internet about her being Venom, and I was like, I don't think there's anything to that. But then when I read that, I was like, oh shit, maybe.
I don't think she is right now, but I wonder if she will become.
Yeah, she becomes the Venom Queen.
I hope not. Because she does make a comment earlier about how when she does meet Malik, she'll do it with her soul intact. But yeah, I don't know.
I think Varish back in the day, I think he may have been a Venom too.
Yes,
he was too evil.
I agree.
He was too terrible. Also, side note, again, I want to know where the bodies are buried because if I don't know, then I don't believe they're dead. Is Violet's dad actually dead?
I don't
Maybe he
know.
went on this whole journey. He went on this whole journey and he accidentally channeled. And now that's why they have kind of this information. Like maybe he did it for research where he's like, what will happen? I don't know.
Well,
I don't believe he's dead if there's not a
and
body buried.
and we've really not learned how he died.
They said his heart
Like
gave out
his heart gave out, but like that sketch,
because he's
right?
venom.
Because he's
Yeah.
venom, because he was poisoned, because he was murdered. Like what happened? And is he really dead dead?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he might not be. Because,
Hmm.
Brendan came back to life. Speaking of
And
Brendan.
Brennan was like dead dead and was
Yeah.
brought back to life.
Yeah. He was dead. He's a zombie, basically. So is Brennan also a venom, perhaps? But he's like
That
a
would
good
blow my
venom?
mind if he was venom.
But like his part of his soul is still intact because he's a mender. So like his body naturally kind of like mended part
Mended
of
itself.
himself.
Ooh,
Mm,
maybe.
maybe. But I also think his first love, Naolan, I think they're lovers. Um, I think maybe he turned venom to try and save him.
Yes, I agree with that.
100%.
100%.
Taran's original writer, all of that. I think that's why also Taran is very big on like, I'm not going to lose you because like he almost like was broken when his first writer turned venom. So,
Which would also make sense because we know the Wyvern have the ruins inside them, right? And then when the Venon's killed, they fall. What if that is what's the ruin on Brennan?
yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And Naolan. So the question though is Naolan Berwyn. Is Berwyn Naolan's last name?
Oh, yes, exactly. Is he? Yeah. Oh my God. There's so many good theories here. You guys.
Because no, we haven't seen Berwyn.
Mm-mm. And Brendan, when he came back to life, he had a different last name. He didn't go by Sorengale anymore.
Right, because he created a new one so people wouldn't know he was alive.
Yeah, disguise. So I think that theory could stick. That is who Naolan actually is. He is the general on the other side. Bum bum bum.
Bum bum bum.
And again, is Violet, if she is a venom, maybe she's a venom that can pull magic from the sky versus the ground. Because there's all this theory, also of like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch too far. Maybe.
It might be right now, but I don't know if it'll be in a book or two.
We'll see what happens. And then we have the grandma, and Mira goes to see her and brings back the bracelet. And we're just like, there's some family drama here. It's going to be important later. It's going to be unpacked. We're going to be revealed so much. Like, why doesn't she talk to the family anymore? Well, we know it's because of Dune and everything that happened with Violet as a kid. But still, like, there is more there that we don't know that will be revealed, and I'm sure we are going to slam our books on our faces and be like, oh my God.
Well, and I think this has to do with whatever Mira's part is in all of this. And I think that bracelet that she gets from her grandma plays into that. Now, let's go to the hill that I'm going to die on.
Okay.
And people are going to argue with me, and come at me, please. Bodhi is the one that turned.
No.
I literally cannot be convinced otherwise because we don't know where he's at the end of the book. He is very clear throughout the book that he believes his spot is at Xaden's side. He says that multiple times. It's next to Xaden. He doesn't want to rule Trinador. And he doesn't feel like his signet is powerful enough. Right? And the only two people that knew Xaden was venom this entire time, like there's three technically, right? Violet, Bodhi, and Garrick. And Xaden specifically said, yes.
Oh, what if it could be Imogen because
he refers to him as a brother though.
I know.
And Rebecca Yarros says at one of her book tours that look at who's not there. And Imogen was there at the end. Yeah, which would exclude her. Yeah, so
good point.
So it's possible it could be Garrick, which is like the only other option I could potentially see, but I still firmly believe it's Bodhi. Because I think Garrick, he's a distance wielder. We know that the Venom also had a distance wielder, right? Because Violet kills one of them. So, which would be like the balance. So I just don't think it's him. I think it's Bodhi. I think Bodhi turns because that's to stay at to stay at Xaden's side this entire time.
Yeah.
Now, fucking Jack Barlow.
I think it's Jack. I still think this whole thing, the brother thing, I think it's still Jack. I don't think it's Bodhi. I think it's Jack.
See, because he says it's another one that turned. Well, I guess we get the impression that's another one that turned, which is why I think it's Bodhi. But there's something with Jack. One, Jack doesn't die. So that's, like, I don't love that. But why did they try and rescue him? Like, they try to rescue him in the beginning of this book. They, like, Theophany says she wants him. There's something he knows or can do that's very important. But I have no idea what it is.
Like,
or who he is.
To someone.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But I fucking hate him.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. I hate him so much. Ever since he threw that kid off the parapet, I was like, fuck you.
Right? Which is the beginning of the first book. I've hated you since the beginning.
Hate. But yeah, who knows why he's important, other than he's our number one guy that we love to hate. Yes. But, okay, so going back to Garrick and Imogen really quick. I think there's definitely a love thing going on here. We get the sense at the end of the book that he might have similar feelings. Curious to see what happens here and why he hasn't acted upon those feelings. Maybe he's not into it. Maybe he loved Quinn. Maybe he loves Riddick. Maybe he loves someone else. I don't know.
That would shock me if he was into Riddick. Can you imagine?
That'd be fun. That'd be
real fun. That would be so hot.
That'd be really hot. That'd be really good. Oh my god.
But so then I would break. My heart would break for Imogen.
I know. I would feel bad for her. I also actually at one point thought like maybe Mira and Imogen would get together.
I think Mira is meant for Drake.
Yeah. But also,
I really want them to be Broccoli's parents. Who?
Oh, that'd be so cute. But Rhiannon.
Well, she's in a relationship.
Oh, she's like someone. Back and forth with Tara.
Yeah.
They're back and forth.
I feel like she puts the job before her love life.
Yeah, that's true. I think Jacinia also. Jacinia and Sawyer. I want them to be.
I need that.
And thank God he lost a leg and not an arm, so he can still talk to her.
Right. He does need to learn to sign better because eventually Riddick is going to sign some really naughty things for him, which might work out well for both of them.
Maybe they'll be a throuple. Maybe that could work out.
That you never know.
Who knows? But also we have Eric. We know he's a precog. How do you say it?
I think I'm precog.
He can see the future. Precog.
Yes.
He can see the future. How long? How long has he been that? A long time.
A long time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I do think
he's planning something with Xaden because I think he told Xaden a lot of stuff, and maybe that's also why Xaden was able to plan a lot of things that he has.
Ooh.
So I think he's going to be useful a lot more in the future. Maybe he's the guy who's delivering the dragon eggs. Maybe it's Garrick delivering the dragon eggs because the distance walking. But also interesting that they only delivered half of the eggs. Yes. So are they still going to get more troops, or are they going to hold back because they didn't deliver all 12? I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll find out.
Interesting that it's 6 eggs, not 7 eggs, because there's 7 types of dragons. But
yes,
good luck.
They only asked for 12, right? Can you imagine?
Yeah, good luck. The Irids are going to be like, fuck no. You already messed up the one we left behind.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. And then we get back to the major drama that everybody has questions about. Who chose Violet first?
So great question. She's asked this multiple times in the book. And I think she believes it was Terran because she says he spoke his name to her first. But I think it was Andarna. And I think it's
Andarna too.
And I think it's why she can control the sky. And can pull from the sky, which is a little different. But she can, and because I think there's something bigger, because she can still dream walk when Andarna is gone. Their bond is broken. So I think she was actually given the dream walking power from Andarna and doesn't need Andarna to do it, which would make her very unique.
Yeah. But you know what else Andarna gave her earlier in book 1?
The time stopping?
Stop time. Yeah.
And we don't know if that's gone.
We don't know. Yeah. Maybe that's what the Irids were so pissed about. That's the most crucial power, honestly, to stop
potentially
time. Maybe that's why they're you gave this to her. What the hell? But I do agree with you. I do think that Andarna was the first one because they communicated via their eyes, and
yes.
Because technically Violet spoke to Andarna first to be get out of here, you need to go. And like maybe
and Violet
Andarna.
chose Andarna to save her versus
Yeah.
herself, which to me is feeling like that was a choice that she made.
Yeah. So I do think it's Andarna first. It's our little
And
girl Andarna.
I think it's gonna be really important.
Yeah.
I also think there's more of this dream walking, which is why I think she can actually mind walk and I think she could be used to control people. I think that's what is gonna make it so special. But
Yeah.
the big question is, we've been told that someone's gonna die in book 4, which is
Rebecca Yarros, don't do this to us.
like we should know by now. We should know about it. It could be Dane. I don't think it matters who it is. It's gonna destroy us. She says it's someone that we love, and I feel like right now we do love Dane. He has been redeemed. Whether or not he deserved for us to hate him in book 1 is to be argued about.
Yeah,
I would
think
say
it's too obviis to say Xaden. It's too obvious.
It's too obvious, and I do think he'll die at some point, but I think he'll live, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They'll both live as Venom.
But I hope not. Or I've also seen a theory that the Venom are the good people, which I can't.
Yeah.
That's also, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
So I would say Rhee or Dane. I think Dane could sacrifice himself for Violet, which would be like this beautiful redemption arc for him. And then I worry for Rhee because there's a lot of similarities between Rhee and Violet as there were between Imogen and Quinn. And I feel like it's interesting that we got that scene. But then, like, let's be honest. It's Rebecca Yarros. Are we sure she's only going to kill one person? I don't trust her. And just to be clear, better not be a fucking dragon. Taryn is off limits. Andarna is off limits. It is not okay to kill Taryn or Andarna or Sigel. I am not as tied to any other dragons.
I will say though, what if Sigel does die because Xaden can live without her now that he's a Venom? Because Jack can live without his dragon.
But then will Taryn die?
But then will Taryn die too? But Violet doesn't because she has Andarna.
I'm not okay with this.
I'm sad now.
Right?
Let's go back to the spicy scenes.
And this is why I'm like, I also feel like she chooses her words carefully. She's like, well, someone you love will die. And I'm just like, what if it's more than one person, isn't it? I feel like book 4, she's going to really destroy us. Like, I feel like it's going to be the worst emotional devastation that's ever existed. But I do think we'll get a happy...
For like weeks.
Probably, right? I do think we'll get a happy ending. I do think she is a romance writer, so I do think we are going to get some sort of happy ending at the end. But I think we're going to become emotionally wrecked between now and then.
I mean, I already am emotionally wrecked, but, you know, at this point... Same. Like, let's just
keep coming back for more.
Yeah, I keep coming back. Speaking of, like, when she's making our heart race, the tornado scene, where, like, we do think Taryn is possibly dead. So she's already given us 2 times where we think Taryn might die. And so...
Her time better not be a charm.
It better not be the final time. It better not be, like, fool me once, fool me twice. So that whole part where, like, you know, she's falling down the cliff, tornado, and like he hits his head, and he's like also trying to like adjust his body so that she doesn't get hit, and you're just like, oh my god, what is happening? Theophanie's grand entrance, and she's playing with Violet like she's a little toy, and like she's holding Garrick up in the air, and it's just like that whole scene. You're like, this is too soon. This is too soon for my heart to be outside of my chest, but it also makes sense because she just plays with your heart the entire time.
Yes.
Because they do it again with the fight scene with the Queen of Unreal. Where, like, is Dane gonna die? Is Xaden gonna die? Like, she has to make the choice. Are they all gonna die? Like, are we all gonna die? It's just, all the fight scenes, honestly, are, like, just nerve-wracking. And you're, like, at the edge of your seat. But, like, the one you don't expect that's, like, a fight scene where someone dies is the gifts. Traeger. Oh, my God. I'm so sad.
I think I actually got an alert for my heart at that point, like when I was reading the book, because sometimes when I read these books, like my alarm will go off like on my heart. It's like, your heart has been elevated for more than 10 minutes. I'm like, well, no shit.
Sherlock. But also you're like, this wasn't a spicy scene. This was a sad scene.
Right.
But then of course, like we do have the spicy scenes, like chapter 25, need I say more? Spice, baby. Quest Squad. I need Riddick to just pour ice all over me. I need him to turn the inside of me ice at that point. I was just like, oh my god.
Or like a slow cool down. Okay. So when it comes to things that made us roll our eyes or room for improvement, I really have zero notes on this book.
I thought it
And
was great.
the reason it was so great, I believe it was exceptionally written because a lot of other people have complained about like some of the things in it. And my kind of take to them would be you don't understand world building. There's a lot more to this world, right? We kind of understand where we've been the last two books, but we're learning more. And you don't understand her writing style. You need to read more of her books. Because there have been times where people are like, they would complain about things that she, in the way she wrote them in Fourth Wing or Iron Flame. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, she did that because it's intentional. She's very, very intentional with her words.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, if you think it doesn't make sense, it's because you don't understand the meaning of it yet. But it's going to be important. There's something to come.
Yeah.
But
And
if I
I
had to
hate it, honest. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I hate that there's people out there saying it's bad writing. I'm like, excuse me, she's been a New York Times bestseller. Like, fuck you. Like, she
Yes.
is a great writer. Just because you don't understand it, that's on you. You're dumb.
Well,
And
and
I will
also,
stand on that hill.
can we stop tearing down other people and other artists?
Yeah.
Like, people are so talented. She's extremely talented to put all of her writing, and she poured so much of herself, like physically and emotionally, into this book and really burnt herself out. People need to be freaking appreciative. Like, back
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. It's just, I hate that. It's like, don't come at her with that. She worked hard and it
Yes.
paid off. People love this book. I mean, we're doing a whole podcast about this book. Like, people love it. And if
Because it's
you want to
great.
be a hater on it, then like, fine, don't read the next one. Like, we will pick up and we will keep talking about it. She will live on, her legacy will live on. And what book have you written?
Truth.
You know?
So if I had
But
to pick one thing,
yeah.
I will give you the one thing that I didn't love, which is how ridiculous is it that the book was formatted so at the end of the bottom of the page is Imogen saying, I know I did what you asked. At the like where there's no room for more words. So I turn the page and there's nothing else.
Yeah.
That is
Like,
not
literally the bottom. She slowly lifts her gaze to mine. What you asked me to. And you're like, okay.
next
I can turn
page.
the next page. Okay, what did she ask? And you're just like, what?
I
No,
thought my book
acknowledgements.
was missing
Acknowledgements,
pages.
no. Yes. I was like, why is this blank?
So
Why did you do this to
I
me?
would just say
I
to
was
whoever
upset.
formatted this book, well done.
You got me.
You gave us all a heart attack. And I didn't love it. Please don't do it next time. Please just,
You know they will.
you already have to pay for the page. The blank page was there. You could have took two sentences and moved it there. We all would have not freaked out and thought that we were missing part of the book. Like, I literally
Yeah.
thought that I was missing pages from the book until I
Yeah.
went on the internet because I had avoided all the spoilers and then realized, no, this was done probably intentionally to
So intentional.
fuck us all over one final time. So thank you. It is implied consent. I do have to keep reading
Rebecca
this.
Yarros is sitting back going, ha, 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 ha. And I'm just like, no, please. Why?
Can't wait to read book 4 whenever it comes out. Please take as much time as you need. We will be waiting for whenever it's ready. So, but let's talk what's next. If you enjoyed this book and loved it like Megan and I did, and literally millions of other people, then I think you will also love literally anything else that Rebecca Yarros has written. If you have not read one of her contemporary romance books, you need to do that like immediately. Please add it to your TBR. There are a lot to choose from. She's written, like I said, almost 20 books we talked about. But I would recommend starting with her Flight and Glory series. It's a 5-series book because if there hadn't been Josh Walker, there wouldn't have been Xaden. And if you know, you know.
I don't know. I want to know.
Well, you need to find out because
it's going to be on, it's on my TBR.
Yeah.
I want to know. There's also her new book that came out, Variations.
Very good. Love that one as well. So I would tell you that I think if you read Flight and Glory, you will see a lot of similarities to the
military
series.
background.
Military background. They fly helicopters, not dragons. But I think it will also help you better understand her writing style.
Yeah. And why she
But
does what
variation
she
is
does.
also really good. I also love In the Likely Event. That woman has not written a bad novel. So I highly recommend that you read literally all of them.
And Last Letter. It's another good one. Okay. So please do that and join us next week when we dive into the world of contemporary romance and discuss Story of My Life by Lucy Score. And then in 2 weeks, our next romantasy episode, we will cover From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. Happy reading, everybody.
Happy reading, everyone. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.